Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, your favorite Star Trek podcast.
Hooray!
Ooh.
This is episode 365.
We can watch one a day for a year.
Except
Oh,
on
wow,
leap
that's-
years.
Well, yeah, shit.
You get leap day off. You go
There we
for
go.
a hike.
Yeah.
Get a reprieve.
I mean, you can fill it in with the 10 forwards.
There we go.
You can't watch them all on leap day.
It could be a long leap day.
Oh,
It
there
could
you
be
go.
a
leap
leap
day.
It could be a leap day with several leap hours.
A
added.
leap day that's also Groundhog's Day.
Would you also call it a quantum leap day?
Yeah. It could
Speaking
actually-
of.
Yesterday, Liz and I were discussing calendars that have like built-in multi-day unspecified calibration periods. It started with fictional ones and wound up on the Icelandic, old Icelandic calendar. So just something like that we need, where we just there's a few days a year.
So like we have to recalibrate so we're back, so we're aligned with the
Sun,
the actual year again.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. And Caitlin's not here, but we are.
But she is there.
This is Chris.
This is Ames.
Oh, this is Jake.
And Liz.
Hello, Liz.
Hello.
Yes, Caitlin had a disaster. You have possibly already heard her, and if not, you will hear her after the credits.
What?
I'll explain later. I already told Jake.
Christ, I don't like any of this.
No, it was your idea.
What? No.
Yes, it was. I have it on the recording. We saved a clip from a time she was trying to find Connor Trinneer's age and had Trip's death spoiled for her.
Oh, did you cut it from that?
Well, because you said save this for the finale.
Oh, that's funny.
So
Okay.
I have had it saved on my hard drive ready for this episode.
Oh, okay, that is funny.
So I'm thinking I will either make it the intro or the post-credits. Either way, we will still technically have our own
Insert it
episode.
right here.
Or that.
I just tried to find out how old Trip's actor was during the show, and I got spoiled. A big spoil.
Oh, Caitlin, no!
Son of a bitch! I hate this show!
Yes, you're gonna hate this show. I'm so sorry you got spoiled.
God damn it!
How old was Connor Trinneer when this
I
episode happened?
don't know!
Look, it's okay. That
No!
episode doesn't exist.
It isn't okay! You telling me they don't kill anyone for the whole goddamn series and they fucking kill him? This is bullshit! I want my money back! I didn't
You're
pay
doing
any
this
money.
for free. I'm so sorry.
Fuck!
Why did you read it?
I didn't mean to!
She was trying to find
I was
Connor
trying to
Trinneer's
find out
age.
how old he was, and it was like, why did they kill Trip? And I was like, what the fuck? I know you have to cut all of this.
We might not.
I'm so unhappy.
No, I'll probably cut it. Just make sure we have a clean break.
We'll save this rant for the finale.
I just had an unclean break. I don't know how.
No, it's gonna be terrible. Like, we're gonna hate it. It's gonna be terrible.
Why? Okay.
Because Rick Berman should be shoved off a cliff.
All right. What's his name? Connor.
Connor Trinneer. We'll see what I do.
You've kept all of this.
I will see.
Lazy editing.
So yes, we are here to finally finish the slog that has been Enterprise.
Brick it in the back of the head.
It's been a long road, guys.
I mean, more importantly, though, this is like the end of an era.
Yeah.
True.
For all of Star Trek.
18 years of continuous Trek.
Yeah, from
Killed.
from TNG to this,
Yeah.
and Bakula destroyed it all.
As Futurama acknowledged in that one episode.
Hey.
It is unfair that he gets blamed.
No, it's not Bakula's
He
fault.
didn't write it. We know who wrote it. It's their fault.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just dive right into These Are the Voyages.
Worse. Somehow worse.
It is Captain Picard Day on the USS
I
Enterprise.
missed that part.
And Jean-Luc gets a call being like, hey, special mission for you. Don't
Wait
want
a
to talk
minute, we
about
did
it.
this episode.
Record screech.
We've done this episode before.
Yes. What's going on? So, the Admiral doesn't want to talk about it, so he's over subspace. Like, just go here, you'll get your orders from Terry O'Quinn. And Terry O'Quinn's there, and Riker's like, oh shit, my old captain, this dredges up so much pain, I'm gonna go play a video game on Troy's advice, because that's a good idea.
Picard has done it before.
In the middle of a crisis?
Yes. Remember, I think, oh god, Big Goodbye, I want to say?
But that was waiting for somebody, and it malfunctioned. Like, he wasn't in the middle of a personal ethical crisis and was like, this video game will solve my problem. This was,
I'll play it for days.
It's like, I'm going to play a video game because we've got, like, 72 hours to kill. And 1, the video game malfunctions, and 2, the guests show up early because they're jerks.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
They are jerks.
Again, they're a classic example of, like, that dickish, rude alien who's like, everyone has to bow to our demands, but we get to do whatever we want.
People who show up early for things are always jerks.
That's true. Yes.
Wink.
I mean, when you show up several days early, and if you'd had the gall to do that, they'd have, like, bombed you. So, anyway, that's not this episode at all either. So, yes, it's the end of the Enterprise on XO1's apparently 10-year mission. She's going to the mothballs.
But wait a minute, we've only been watching her for 4 years.
Yeah, we've done the time skip, like anime. And yeah, they're going to be bringing her mothballs. They're signing what will be the Federation Charter. And yeah, cut to Will Riker at a station, because this is actually him watching something on the holodeck to deal with the issues he's having in the episode The Pegasus.
Dad and Dad are fighting.
Yeah. Hoshi's got a new haircut.
Ish.
Trip and
Oh, does she?
T'Pol apparently broke up shortly after the events of the actual finale.
Like, immediately
Yeah,
after.
yeah. I kind of get it. But,
Like, that baby was weird looking. Let's never do this again.
Shran had apparently faked his own death and fallen in with Crims for some reason. That feels in character. No, it doesn't.
Crims?
Criminals.
Oh.
So now he shows up needing help because they've kidnapped his daughter that he had with that Enar woman.
Jamel, we liked her.
Yeah, it's still weird that
Oh.
how
She also seems a lot younger than
much. And
Yeah,
also, like,
she's a baby.
Talus had just died when they met. It's really uncomfortable and weird,
This
and I
has
hate
been
it.
really helpful so far because I missed a lot of this random like time jump exposition.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Okay.
And yeah, so they go, it turns out, hey, wow, it's like poetry, it rhymes. They're going back to Rigel from the first episode. They get his daughter, they give the criminals a thing that explodes. The criminals chase them down. Trip fucking kills himself to save Shran.
No, save Archer.
Archer, I guess. Yeah, Archer. And
Because of the plot told him to.
right. Because, well, it's really important that, if Archer isn't there for the signatures, they're all going, actually, you know what? We don't want to make the Federation because this one corn-fed dipshit died.
There's no one slotted to give a speech during this particular time, therefore fuck the whole day.
We won't
Yeah.
listen to anyone else but this fucking guy.
And
This fucking guy.
Will feels better about his choices. Fuck, I hate this episode so much.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would I know there was a whole trepidation leading up to this. Like you guys were just like, oh god, we gotta watch that episode. And I'd heard, fans get upset about this episode. I'm like, well, fans get upset about everything.
Yeah, fair. So do
I
we.
remember seeing part of this episode. I thought the part that I saw was the end of the episode, like a Tommy Westfall reveal. What is that, Seen Elsewhere?
Yes.
Thank you. Of it was a little boy's dream the whole time. And no, what I remember seeing was the beginning of the episode when Riker frees his program.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, he does that many times.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem, I think a TNG Enterprise crossover episode wouldn't be the worst. If it was middle of the season,
Yep.
we're going to do a fun little, maybe it's a season 5 thing because
Yeah, get the fans to wank a little.
Because season 5 would be the 40th, 50th?
40th.
40th.
Yeah, because 50th is
2006 would have been 40th.
Yeah, they would also be hitting, if they got into season 5, I think 3 episodes in or something, would have been their 100th episode.
Yeah, so
which
they-
also
they
might be
could have
very
done a
nice.
special, okay, we're going to do a little treat. We're going to bring Frakes, Sirtis, Spiner back, and we're going to do a little thing. And, and that would have been fine. I think making it the finale of Enterprise cheapens. It's disrespect.
Yeah.
There's no love lost for Enterprise here.
We
No.
don't have much love for Enterprise.
No.
Exactly,
here.
but at the same time, it's if I was an actor on that show,
I'd be pissed.
I'd be fucking ripped.
A lot of them were.
Every other show up until, except with the exception of TOS and TAS because they didn't know they were being canceled. Every other show had a proper send-off episode.
Yeah.
Up to this point, where
Well, they've been able to plan it.
but they
Enterprise
were able
was-
to plan this too.
You want
It's
some
not like they
backstory?
showed up today on the date of filming and were like, "Oh, here, Frakes is around. Let's just do a thing."
Well, here's the thing, though. They had just learned that they were canceled 3 episodes earlier, in the middle of In a Mirror Darkly, I think is when they learned that they weren't renewed. And that only gives you 3 weeks to plan. And here's the story that I've heard. Because I've heard there are conflicting stories, specifically from Berman, because of course there are.
I don't believe Berman, then.
Well, either story, because they conflict, is the thing. Is that during season 3, when they were expecting to be canceled, they kind of half prepared this as in case we're actually canceled, we might, have something ready to go, which conflicts with the story of how they came up with the fucking Nazi episode. But
Whatever.
Don't listen to writers; they're liars. But supposedly they already had this idea kicking around. They wrote it for the actual season finale. And the stories that conflict that Berman tells are, A, if there had been a season 5, this episode still would have aired.
But would it still have been a 10-year time jump?
Yes.
Was season 5 going to be...
No. Because then then they could bring Trip back. But the thing that conflicts is, would you have still killed off Trip? And he's like, yes, because then you can go back in time and he's still alive. But also, later, in a different interview, he said, no, Trip would not have died if it weren't the series finale. So I don't know who to believe about any of this shit.
Here's the thing. If anything, they're having less time to plan makes this episode make even less sense because it's so involved. Because you've got to get back Frakes and Sirtis.
You have to get the whole Enterprise, soundstage together.
Yeah, you've got to rebuild 10 forward at least.
Well, I think
they're
only
always
rebuilt
there.
a little corner.
Still,
You've got to... You have to fail to find Marina Sirtis' wig and then scramble to build
And
a new
then
one.
fail to find Troy's accent.
That's true. She dropped the accent by
She
then.
didn't really have much of an
Actually,
accent in the movies, though.
The Pegasus...
She didn't, but she did in Pegasus.
I was saying, the Pegasus was season 7, so it was definitely thinner by then. Because I did decide to rewatch Pegasus immediately after finishing
Oh, a much
this.
better episode.
So much. And that's the thing, to your point, Jake, too, is not only is it kind of shitty to the cast of Enterprise, but it's that Simpsons meme, It's Homer, you ruined a perfectly good suit jacket. Wrong! 2 perfectly good suit jackets. This episode doesn't exist for 2 reasons. One is a terrible finale for Enterprise, and 2, it actually makes the Pegasus worse if you assume it exists. I rewatched it, and
But it does exist. That's the problem.
Yeah,
we just watched it.
As far as I'm
wasn't
concerned,
a fever dream, Chris.
As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't count. It's fiction. I get to do that, and
you don't, though.
sure I do. Until they specifically say
if we say we watched Bem, we watched fucking Bem.
The canonicity of that entire series is every couple of years they change their mind on whether or not it counts. So anyway, point is, I went back and watched it, and Frakes does some really good work in that episode. I don't know if we talked about it at the time, but there's just I caught this time. If I didn't the last time, I do not know. Just these little things he's doing with his hands. These little things we all sort of unconsciously do when we are stressed the fuck out. And he's doing them. He's doing such a good performance. And everything in that performance this is one of the hardest, most fucked up moments of my life. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not thinking straight. I can't talk to anyone about this because I'm caught between orders and loyalty.
Can you talk to T'Pol about it?
And the idea that he's, first of all, even talking to Troy about it at all does not make sense.
Because he was so conflicted, he was so isolated in the original episode.
If there's anyone, he maybe would have said fuck it and said I can't do. It would have been Picard. That was the whole point. So he would not be going to Troy at all. He definitely wouldn't have mentioned the truth of the situation to her. That was the whole thing until he revealed it to Picard at the end, towards the end rather. He clearly had not told fucking anybody.
And he doesn't reveal it at the end until the cat's pretty much out of the bag.
Yeah, well,
well, right, because they have the device.
And they need it to get out of the asteroid. Yeah. So, there's no way he was talking to Troy, and there was no way he was, having happy-go-lucky fun times on the holodeck. He is clearly enjoying himself on the holodeck.
Yeah.
This is not a man who is enjoying himself at all for this entire mission. It clashes... If they could have at least found a different episode for him,
I think Pegasus.
Such a terrible choice.
I think they should have jumped, and I've heard this argument to Riker on the Titan.
Well, so
because then his face would match.
So I actually came up with 2 replacement episodes.
Oh, I love when Jake
I
rewrites
came up
Enterprise.
with an actual finale for Enterprise, and then I came up with a television special.
100th episode spectacular.
A television. So after the conclusion of Enterprise, we do a special on TV to wrap. Like, this is a Berman thing. Like, we're gonna wrap up, Berman era Trek, quote unquote. With a spectacular that's gonna join.
Vic's gonna sing.
That's gonna join. I mean, it's only gonna be TNG and Enterprise because those are the only ones that people give a shit about. Like, no one knew what DS9 was in 2005. Are you kidding? Hadn't come out on DVD yet. But no, so we're gonna wrap this 18 years period with a television special. So it's not an episode of Enterprise and it's not an episode of TNG. It's just a special. And we're going to bring back some cast from different things. And what it's going to be, it's going to be on the Titan,
Yay.
which explains why they look fucking 80,
Marina can use a different wig.
Yeah, Marina can use whatever accent she wants. She can just be English, which is what she wants to be anyway. So let's do that. And then, this one is less formed. That my Enterprise finale is much better formed. But basically my idea is Titan's out, doing some Titan-y stuff.
Tightening.
And they find
Iconia Gateway.
A derelict ship. The Enterprise NX-01.
What?
Presumed lost.
Hadn't they already
200
said at some
years
point
ago.
it was at the shipyards?
Who said?
I don't remember.
No one ever said that.
Someone.
That's a Picard thing. That came in.
Oh, is it in Picard? In that case, yeah, but ignore it.
Because
Fuck
the ship wasn't even established, I don't think, until as a thing.
Yeah, the NX-01 didn't exist for Enterprise.
Yeah, that was just come up with for this show. So they wouldn't have known to say it's in the shipyards. And they're like, it's presumed this ship was presumed lost with all hands and disappeared, never to be seen again. So they board it, and they're like, oh my god, the history, and then we transition to the final mission of the Enterprise. Or and then we have some kind of adventure, and this is part I haven't actually thought out how it's going to work, and we actually figure out how the ship ended up there.
Yeah, and Riker can do some investigating, I wonder how it got here.
I don't know if they actually kill off all the crew, because that would be kind of sad, but
that'd be very sad. For
Yeah, well, it also
maybe something cool happens. Maybe
they went off into the sunset sort of thing, and we never knew what happened to them until now.
Yeah, exactly. We find out that they actually saved the galaxy, and then they got ascended to fucking. They're the Cytherians now.
You find the planet of their descendants.
Yes.
It would have contradicted what we know of Archer from the Mirror episodes is the only thing.
Well, so my alternative was, instead of finding the derelict ship, this one I really couldn't figure out how to do, but they're on the Titan and they have to ferry a dignitary, and everyone's really nervous about it because this dignity, it's so famous, so I can't believe I'm going to be in the presence of it. And they're like, just relax. She's 250 years old, so just chill out. And this fucking ancient Tucanes. T'Pol beams aboard, and they do a thing with T'Pol. I don't know.
I mean, they've done time displacement before. You could have had because the only people whose files we saw in the Mirror one were Archer and Hoshi. So, everyone else is fair game. Fucking Mayweather could have popped up and had more than 2 lines.
No, that's impossible.
The thing is, you already had a perfectly usable finale for Enterprise with that last 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
It got to thematic points of the series better than most of the series did, and yes, it wasn't planned as the finale, but as oops, we got canceled last episode, it would have been serviceable.
Yeah, it wasn't a cliffhanger. Right?
Yeah, that too.
That's the only... You can end it anywhere as long as it's not a cliffhanger.
The really frustrating part, too, was how much it was about TNG. Fucking Reed says, all good things, and at one point they literally toast to the next generation.
To the next generation.
Yeah. It's fuck you! And like you said, Jake, I get that they only have archival recordings of Kirk and Picard doing the speech, but you still could have shown the Voyager and Deep Space Nine or the Defiant
true.
But
or
it's because
something.
it's only the Enterprises.
Still, like you said, it is obviously meant to be kind of like we don't know what's happening to Star Trek right now sendoff. It's like I said, it had been on TV constantly. This was getting canceled. There were no plans for anything else. This could have been the end of Enterprise Star Trek for a very long time, as far as anyone knew. You could have at least like thrown a bone to the other two shows.
Yeah, and I also read like originally like the ending moment there. You know, Riker and Troy finish watching the thing, computer end of thingy, would have just been the Enterprise D flying off, and someone, did I write down who? I think it was Sussman, but I forget. What basically said, you should try to bring it back so it's like the Enterprise from this show, because this is the show that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, just again, I'm not. I know time, it doesn't matter, but that also wasn't the incumbent modern Enterprise at that point anyway.
Yeah, it was the E.
Okay, I got it.
Uh-oh.
Archer is visited by our old friend,
Oh no.
Mr. Daniels.
No!
And he goes, Archer, I thought we were done with this shit, but the fucking factions have unleashed a fearsome weapon upon this realm that's going to really fuck shit up. You need to do something about it. And like they go and they find this fucking thing in space. It's a fucking ribbon of energy that smashes the Enterprise.
Oh my god.
And then Archer wakes up
in the Nexus.
in the fucking
Kirk.
Nexus, and him and Kirk and Picard
Oh no!
have to go on an adventure to stop Malcolm McDowell
It's
for
so
some
much
reason.
wanking.
Wait, that could be a movie.
That's still terrible, but that's better than this.
And then it ends with two bridges falling on Picard.
Picard this time.
Picard and Kirk, they both get bridged.
The two bridges, yeah, and you need one for each.
No, okay, this would have made it Enterprise everyone's favorite show. The bridge is about to land on Kirk, and Archer goes, no! And shoves him out, and he gets bridged.
There you go.
I accept that. I also feel like because I don't want more temporal Cold War.
Me neither.
But like they're the ones who did this to themselves, so they should have to, finish their fucking story.
Eat your pizza.
And in the finale, finally admit that Archer's time daddy. Please and thank you.
Yeah, I thought about that too, but the problem is the way that they ended the temporal Cold War with Daniels in the room with all the clip show.
Yeah.
They couldn't bring it back. They can't bring back the temporal Cold War again.
But they could.
I mean, they also
They
couldn't
bring back
an
Daniels.
entire episode of The Next Generation, but
Yeah.
somehow they managed to do that.
Somehow TNG returned.
Yeah.
It's
Seriously, when Star Trek's out of ideas, it's TNG time.
Yeah, so
just they made extra work for themselves.
They did.
With this episode, because if you just didn't include any of the Next Generation stuff,
It's not that good a story.
no.
the whole show isn't that good a story. It would have been a perfectly
but
it would have been an ending, a logical ending to the show to just have their last adventure happen.
Yeah.
Well, I also
But you're catching in something that is so out of context. Like at this point, we still don't have streaming, so if you hadn't watched Pegasus when it aired, either in syndication if you've been lucky enough to catch it on TV, on cable, or when it originally aired, 10 years ago at this point at least?
Just about 10 years. I looked it up.
You're guessing. You're like, I think I saw that. Maybe?
I think he looked younger then.
She had an accent.
And the other thing, you said the other day with the Mirror episode, this is the first episode of Enterprise without any of our Enterprise characters. Same for this one.
Same for this one, because they're all holograms.
Like the fact that at one point, fucking
Daniels.
T'Pol and Trip have this heartfelt discussion
Oh, God.
caused by a discussion she had with Riker. It's like, this discussion didn't happen. The video game is creating this.
So here's one thing. Here's a question I had. The scene between T'Pol and Archer at the very end before he walks on stage, is that an actual flashback? Because Riker's not there.
True.
He's in the audience with...
It's just the holodeck playing out? Or
Yeah,
what?
or is this just an actual flashback to this actual moment?
Well, he could have been in objective mode just off screen. We don't know.
He's hiding in the wall. He's
Like-
like a painting on the wall with eyes.
Oh, I
watching.
mean,
That would be kind of funny. I'm not going to lie.
I'm trying to think of other games that aren't The Sims that do this, but The Sims definitely you can have it in autonomy mode, and
Yeah.
these things are going on whether you're there or not, and then you'll load again. And
Now,
they've gotten married and have 3 kids.
You're like, when did you have kids?
yeah, it's running this whole simulation the whole time. So
But-
here's the thing. Everyone bitches about how this kills Trip for, no reason. Which is definitely one of its main, fucking crimes. Again, though, I think the character assassination of Shran is bullshit.
Yeah.
And also...
Why? What don't you like about Shran?
It just... He doesn't... Like, everything we know about Shran, I don't see him just... Even if he left the Imperial Guard, he has a family now, which I don't know why those aren't compatible with. Fair. The fact that he would, like, fall in with criminals, it's that's not Shran.
Like, I don't know. I don't like the Bay plot. I don't know what you'd call it. The plot with the Shran plot.
It's so half-assed.
It's half-assed because, they're not, like, interesting aliens we've seen before. They're just some rando aliens.
The guy, I looked him up. The guy that causes all this, the criminal, doesn't have a name!
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
And, the fact that, as you were saying, Chris, that, it's, like, Shran, who's this, like, fairly honorable guy.
And a hero on Andoria.
Yeah, exactly. A hero is just going to, I'm just going to go into selling illegal gems? Like, what?
Yeah. Which rather contradicts, I retired because I wanted to be with my family.
Like,
what's Sherelle doing? Is she also dealing in illicit gems?
She wouldn't allow that.
Maybe they're like sacred Enar gems that everybody wants.
But yeah, that's bullshit. Fuck, what was I building up to? But yeah, characterization Shran, killing Trip for no good fucking reason.
In a really...
and also...
Trip in a noble sacrifice is fine, but killing Trip in a noble sacrifice over this fucking stupid shit is...
Yeah, it didn't feel like...
the worst acting I've seen from him.
I mean, would you give a fuck if you were him at this point?
He did, though, was the thing. Connor Trenier actually likes this.
Weird.
Everyone's gonna like the episode where they get killed off because then they don't have to be on the show.
He did do a good job dying.
I didn't.
Not a lot of actors get a dying scene.
Yeah, his death scene in sickbay.
It's so sad.
Lovely. Good for him. I love his little wink. I was like, if I cared about this episode, I could see crying at this. But I don't. I hate this fucking shit that's happening. But the scene in which he's deciding to go and put the tubes together and then obvious fucking ruse and these aliens are dipshits.
Yeah.
Like, the way he was acting, it was like he was in an improv class. It looked absurd.
Yeah.
It's funny. I thought it was surprisingly decent, if atypical of a Star Trek episode.
He was just talking really fast, like, aliens! Oh, stun Archer, and I'll do a thing over here! And like, what?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
That's how Archer ruses people. Trip's cleverer than that. So the other thing that really annoyed me, though, is that apparently all of a sudden we find out Chef has been everyone's confidant this whole time. Fuck off.
And Riker?
He's not Guinan. Fuck this guy.
Well, they're trying to... Exactly, that's what it is. They're retroactively trying to make it that Chef has been Guinan. But there's
been no reference to that.
No.
Right. And, like, the fact that... I keep saying the fact that. It's like something a fucking catchphrase today. and the fact that... Anyway. Yeah. Like, Chef has been introduced as a sort of off-screen character. It's kind of a gag that we never see.
Yeah, a classic sort of television trope of the unseen, always mentioned character.
Yeah, it's Maris from Frasier.
But it's their mourn for a closer Star Trek equivalent.
Yeah, exactly. But it's never implied, as you say, that he's anything more than the guy that cooks the food.
Yeah.
If they had to reveal Chef, like, for real, and, like, let's say they had a good finale, and they finally show you Chef, you know what would have been kind of funny? It's out-of-makeup Jeffrey Combs. To imply that maybe part of the reason he likes Shran is because it reminds him of... Shran reminds him of Shrek. Shran reminds him of Chef. And, like, on some unconscious level, that's why he trusted Shran.
I don't think we needed a Chef reveal.
We did not. But if they had to do it, that would have been...
factored into nothing, but that would be something.
Yeah.
Your choice would be
or something. It's out of makeup Ethan Phillips.
Yeah, because that was the other one. When he started to say out of makeup, I was thinking, it's going to be Ethan.
That actually would have been kind of fun.
That is cute.
Either would be fun. There's a lot in this episode where that was the other thing where I was like, I don't even like the show, and I'm feeling insulted as a watcher of this show.
Yeah.
Where just before Archer goes to make his speech at the end, and he's talking with T'Pol, and T'Pol's like, I'm gonna go. And he's like, you never liked crowds. And I'm like, when did we ever learn this? Why are you fucking giving me exposition on shows, on characters that I should know by now, and you're telling me that I don't know them right now?
That reminds me of another thing that annoyed me. T'Pol still being like, not even still, but like suddenly being like I get that at the start, like she was wary of Andorians, but I feel like she got over that already because she realized her own government was corrupt and fucked up.
It's been another 6 years. Maybe the Andorians did something else stupid in the last 6 years because this time jump is the other thing that's like almost like. It's unnecessary that there's this giant time jump for one thing, but also...
It had to line up with the signing of the Federation Charter!
Vomit.
Yes.
But it means that no one has progressed at all.
Nope.
No.
Mayweather and Sato are still fucking ensigns.
And the biggest crime of this whole thing, sorry to interrupt, but the biggest crime of this whole thing...
I didn't have a second thing, so please go.
Is we went through 4 seasons of this show. And Mayweather hasn't played a single prank on screen.
Maybe this whole thing was a prank. Maybe
I was half expecting, for like a trip to like connect those wires together,
and then snakes come out,
and then like a bunch of snakes come out, and the alien pulls his mask off, and it's Mayweather. He's like, "Gotcha!"
I mean, at least. Fucking when Reed sits down in the auditorium, you hear like a and he goes, Mayweather, really?
Oh, that's the wrong tone for the end of the episode.
This whole episode's the wrong tone.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another question.
There's no right tone.
No. So this is a holodeck program. Who the fuck wrote it? And how much of it is true? Because the first little bit of the episode, I'm just like, no one is in character. T'Pol's acting, like, Jolene has given up. A lot of the acting is a little off, and it's, you could say, oh, it's because it's been 6 years, but I'm sure that's not what it was.
No,
because no one thought
most of the
that
actors just don't care at this point.
But
I don't blame them.
I wonder if there were little nods and shit about, is this holodeck program fucking accurate? Because there's no way they would have some of these scenes.
Right.
Some of these intimate scenes between people.
Yeah.
Like,
I say it's all fake news.
It's a Mayweather prank.
Well, like, yeah, the aliens, we don't know who they were. Maybe there was no record of who the aliens were, so they just, like, the computer just created generic
or they knew
alien men.
Exactly who it was, but it would be sort of awkward if that was public knowledge.
Oh, no.
So this is basically a novel like we see in Voyager all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Where people just go and they...
Like a historic reenactment.
Yeah, it's a reenactment.
Let's go to the Battle of Waterloo or what have you.
And, like, they switched to objective mode several times, which has pissed me off. Why? This goes back to... This is a first contact gripe that I had.
Oh.
The episode or the movie?
The movie.
Yes,
Okay.
you're right. I didn't think of that.
Oh, with the clothes.
With the fucking holographic clothes.
Yeah.
Why? It was a thing in First Contact, inexplicably. And it was a
Every
thing
single other time people dress up and go
every
to the
single
holodeck.
time they go on the holodeck, they have to get into costume. Why suddenly do we have holographic clothes?
I forgot about... So, like, I assumed that this was... Because when I didn't... Like, I mean, I started this episode about 10 minutes after I woke up this morning.
Poor thing. You weren't even a coffee in yet, were you?
No,
I'm so
I was making my
sorry.
coffee as it started up. So, I did not catch on right away that this was supposed to take place in the middle of an episode in TNG. So I assumed that this, especially since we're looking at older Riker, older Troy, this was somewhere in the movie era.
Mm-hmm.
Timeline-wise. And so it made sense enough that I was able to accept it. I was like, oh, holodeck got some upgrades. Like the fact that they're calling out objective mode. Not something in the series.
Never seen that before.
I don't think it's been in the movies at all, right?
Yeah, because
So
usually when
like,
you want to play this thing, you want to be a character, not just watch
I
a
mean,
movie.
you definitely, like, having an objective mode makes sense, and you probably have moments that we could point to that were, like, that's probably objective mode. But, like, in this case, you're calling it, maybe it was, like, a new feature or something, whatever. But if it's in the middle of an episode in the regular seasons, it's all fucked. The holographic clothes would have made sense if it was somewhere in the movie era or later on, because that could have been an upgrade.
Right.
Like, we've patched it now. You don't have to get dressed for it. You don't have to, like, waste replicator material to make clothes.
A nice feature.
It would have been a good feature. It's a perfectly logical one. But yeah, no, this episode doesn't play logically with either the timeline of Enterprise or of TNG.
Yeah.
Here's another thought. So this is, it's a holodeck program. Well, and we've seen, say, Julian and Miles go play holodeck, like,
Mhm.
historic programs.
Mm-hmm.
But they do it in a way that they're involved, and they're trying to change the outcome.
Yeah.
Like, they go in and they're like, oh, why can't we ever be the ones that win this battle? Blah, blah, blah. Have we tried this, and this?
They're playing Assassin's
that's-
Creed.
yeah,
Is,
that's-
this, is this program the point, like, you have to go in and change something?
I think.
Save
Well,
trip?
that's well. Okay, so that's the exact thing. I wonder if this is sort of like maybe not an official holo novella that like a person wrote, but like Riker asked the computer
To generate.
Create the historic
like take
thing.
okay, here's this historic event. Can you generate a holodeck scenario that is about, and that's, you know,
And
explains
have the characters be roughly how they were.
yeah, like they have personality records of all these people, so they could kind of construct it. They don't have personality records or physical records of what the aliens looked like, so that's why they just look like generic space alien
They
men.
forgot that there were Makos on this ship.
No, Riker's a
see
Mako
them.
at one point.
Yeah, we see him, Riker dressed up in
But when the aliens
in a
are
Mako,
aboard.
Oh, they'd already been
in
warped.
a Mako colored sausage casing.
Those jumpsuits are terrible.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I did come up with another.
Oh, yeah?
You want to hear my finale?
Go for it.
Okay.
This one I actually wrote some notes about,
Ooh,
so I wouldn't forget.
notes.
I warn
It's
you.
not
in-
even fanfic day yet.
I warn you in advance. It's just Star Trek 6 again, but
We like Star Trek.
we like Star Trek 6, so
Good
we'll,
movie.
No problem.
we'll allow it. All right, this is our opening. This is our teaser. Enterprise, and this is being explained to us by Archer through a Starlog. Enterprise is returning to Earth to witness the signing of a defensive pact between Earth, Teller, Andoria, and Vulcan. It's not the Federation Charter; it's a defensive pact. Because
Okay.
we
It's
were-
earlier, yeah.
It's earlier. It's a no time jump. You know, this takes place roughly shortly after the last episode. It's a bittersweet return because the Enterprise will be undergoing a major refit and will relaunch in 6 months' time under the command of a new captain, as Archer is being promoted to Admiral to replace Admiral Forrest.
Okay. All this sounds right.
Yeah, why not? As we're on our way, we pick up a ship approaching on an intercept course. What's going on? So we check it out. We scan it. There's one life sign aboard. It's heavily damaged. It's venting drive plasma. It's going to explode any second now. Can we get a transporter lock on the occupant? We'll beam the occupant aboard. We'll deal with it later. So we beam the occupant aboard. There's a bunch of Makos at the transporter pad. The occupant beams over, and it's Shran, and he's all fucked up, and he's like about to collapse, and he just goes, "Get me, Archer," and then he collapses. So then that's our teaser. In sickbay, Phlox is frantically trying to treat Shran, who's like in and out, and every time he's awake, he's screaming, "Bring me Archer!" And then Archer comes in, and Phlox is like, "Captain, you have to get the fuck out of here. I have a patient," and Shran insists. He's like, "No, I need to talk to Archer right now." And he says, "There's no fucking time. You must stop the signing. You must stop the signing. Trust no one. No one."
This is Cisco in, I want to say, no, Rapture. One of
Yeah,
them.
the one where he stopped the thing. Yeah,
Destiny?
he's like,
Something.
and like, so then, and then he dies. And then
Oh no,
dies.
Shran!
And then before explaining what was going on.
Jeffrey Combs does die.
So, you know, Mayweather and Reed have been assigned to like investigate. They're going through the wreckage. They're going through the black box from Shran's ship, and they analyze it, and they find that he was in the weapon signatures here suggest he was in a battle with Vulcans. These are Vulcan weapon signatures. That's weird. So we go back, we trace back where he came from the black box, and stuff happens. Long story short, it appears that Vulcans are trying to sabotage this alliance that's being forged.
Typical Vulcans.
Haven't decided quite how this works, but at some point, T'Pol reveals either maybe they found somebody, they captured somebody, I don't know. T'Pol reveals that there's a rogue element that's trying to reestablish the high command on Vulcan. And then it's basically a repeat of Star Trek 6. We have to, because we figure, and this is why I think maybe we capture somebody and interrogate them. Archer does some torture, who knows?
He loves that.
He loves it. But at any rate, we find out that there is an infiltrator in Soval's delegation
Oh, shit.
that is planning to cause a ruckus at the signing. So we race back to Earth. And
Fly her apart then.
yeah, if we fly her apart,
Mm.
we get there. Archer and Reed and folks, they're gonna go stop the delegation and get the saboteur. And at some point, we figure out that there's actually a bomb planted on Saval's shuttle, which is parked at the site of the signing. And if it goes off, it's going to destroy the whole thing.
Oh no! What speed does that have to stay at?
It has to stay at 50 miles per hour, no more, no less. So Trip goes and he's going to disarm this bomb. He's looking at it. He's like, Captain, I don't know what to do with this thing. And they're like, well, okay, we got to do something. He's like, it's got a molecular decay detonator. We can't get rid of that. We beam this thing out. It's likely to blow up. So they can't beam it away. So Trip's like, God damn it, Captain. And then he gets in the pilot seat and he flies the shuttle into space and then it explodes and he's dead. He gets blown up.
It's more noble.
It's
How
more
dare
noble.
you.
He saves everybody. He saves the fucking signing.
But also, I feel like my boys, the Romulans, gotta be involved in
The
this.
molecular decay
Right.
detonator,
That's
my
a
friend.
thing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what we saw in the Duras thing, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's why. Okay.
That son of a bitch Duras.
So anyway,
that a union?
so the signing
Yeah.
proceeds. It's obviously kind of very bittersweet because Trip's the entire crew of the Enterprise is lined up and honored, and they leave a space
Yeah.
for Trip.
Mm.
So then T'Pol
Jesus.
obviously is mourning Trip quite a bit. She's got her Vulcan robe on. She's saying a Vulcan prayer, and she gets joined by Saval, her old boss. And they kind of have a moment. And then now Admiral Archer comes out,
Crying.
and he's very upset. He's speaking to T'Pol and goes, "Oh, and there's one more thing." And he hands her a little box, and she opens the box, and there's a pip because she's been promoted to captain, and she's the new captain of the Enterprise once it.
No, that can't be right. She's a lady.
She's and a Vulcan, filthy Vulcan. So the final shot that we're gonna have is the refit Enterprise. We're not even gonna see the inside. We're just gonna see the outside. Leaving space dock. It's got its
like in Voyage Home.
like in Voyage Home. It's got the secondary hull, which is I think what we see in Picard with the Enterprise. It's got like a secondary hull.
Yep.
Oh.
So it's clearly a refit, and then it's cruising off, and then a la Star Trek II, Connor Trenier reads the famous
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These Are the
That'd be
Voyages
nice.
speech.
Jake, I'm not hearing any pranks from Mayweather in this.
Oh, and then
There's a B plot.
turns out that Mayweather planted the bomb.
No, you always
Oh.
ultimate ties everything together. We suddenly cut back to the wreckage of the time room.
Mm.
It flickers on. Time Daddy appears. The effect fades. It's Mayweather, and he goes, "Pranked ya."
Mm.
Mayweather.
It's still Sela.
Yeah.
Sela did this.
See, I like that because it feels like an episode of Enterprise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it feels like there's actually like a conflict and
I think most importantly, it has to do with getting to the point of the Federation Charter being
Yeah.
signed.
Which we don't care about, to be honest.
Like, it just has nothing to do with the episode. Like, the episode has nothing to do with it. Like, the finale. The finale as it exists. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, this important historic thing that apparently has to happen in the show in order for the show to end, that is happening. But we're going to have an adventure that has nothing to do with that.
At all.
And doesn't lead up to it thematically in any way,
Nope.
really.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Whereas,
terrible.
Yeah,
whereas like,
we
they already
need
had a good setup for it in the previous two-parter.
yeah.
Because that was dealing with a hindrance to getting
People
to that
trying
point
to
for
stop it,
humanity.
yeah.
Humanity was at a testing point of whether or not we're ready for a federation sort of unification, because we're dealing with our own xenophobia and everything.
Yeah.
We've resolved that. Racism is over. We're great. Let's move
Solved
on.
it.
Now we go on to the bigger picture on the galactic level, on the
Which
quadrant
is
level.
Shran's fucking nonsense. Last week,
I
during
mean, it shouldn't be.
Demons in Terror Prime, I think we mentioned that Shran was supposed to be in that episode as one of the
Mm.
Andorian delegates doing shit, but they decided, no, we need him for the finale, because it's the finale, and
Because it's more
and he's
important
Shran,
somehow?
and yet somehow it feels like the Shran part in These Are the Voyages are just because they wanted Shran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not because it was at all applicable to the show.
I think what best exemplifies this episode is a little thing that I feel like he probably did on purpose to an extent. Dominic Keating. At the end, when Archer's coming out and everyone's applauding in the audience, Hoshi and Mayweather are just applauding.
Mm-hmm.
If you look, Keating is just doing a big...
Okay, the audience can't see your face, Chris.
Oh, well, I just want them to hear the slow, sarcastic clap.
Well, you can't hear that it's sarcastic, you just hear that it's slow.
Well, yeah, but still, it does
The
not...
slow clap is by definition
sarcastic.
unless it speeds up.
Yeah, that's the... Yeah.
Then it's rude.
Like, if you look back, like, Keating's clap is just slow and he does not care. And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either, Dom.
You're in this really horribly animated hall waiting
That too.
for
Oh
it.
my god, the
The
effect.
CG.
We watched
was
it a
so
bunch of
bad.
times because here's
The
how I
crowd
said
is
it
so
looks like a
bad.
coloring book.
It looks to me like
That's unfair.
it looks to me
Coloring
like
books.
a PlayStation cinematic from like 1996.
Oh, 100%.
It's so bad.
Yeah, like, it's funny, again, going back to Pegasus right after this, the model of the Enterprise D looks so much better than the CG version.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I like the CG. Dude.
Okay, here's the thing, it's not bad. Like, I was like, especially considering how bad Enterprise CG can be, I was like, hey, this looks pretty good. But then immediately going to watch the original, you're just like,
Oh, look at it.
Oh,
It
it's
looks
a
like a
model.
shell.
a model looks better at the end of the day, no matter what.
That was my one thing. I did think that the CG Enterprise D did look pretty good.
Yeah, because again, my expectations are just so low.
Although I was trying to see if it. I don't know if they included 10 forward on it. Because they
No, I don't know.
like, which is interesting because the whole scene takes place in 10 forward. But I was like, where's 10 forward? I couldn't see the windows.
But yeah, it was just...
They might. I wonder if they used like an
Might be
older.
too much definition.
Well, because they only added the 10 forward windows to the model in the second season.
Right, that's right. I forgot about that.
So I
Oh, so you
wonder-
think maybe they built off of the first
Maybe
season?
they were using an older
Oh, that's
model to
interesting.
use. For
I would
Well,
say
that would
I
be-
would definitely...
Sounds like a Beanie Baby chain. Like one of them's got like the pink ears and one's got black ears.
It definitely feels like the kind of lack of attention to detail I would expect from Enterprise.
Mhm. But anyway, yeah, I think it was a shit. It's a shit episode. It's a super shit finale.
Yeah, there are a couple novels that basically retcon it to be like, yeah, that didn't happen. That holodeck program wasn't what happened. Trip is alive.
Maybe the whole thing was just.
Fuck you,
Maybe the whole thing was actually a video game, and the objective was to like save Trip.
Yeah.
And like he
That's
just.
what I was thinking,
and then
yeah.
like Riker just failed. He just didn't play.
Yeah, he just put it in objective mode and was like, yeah, let it play out.
I don't normally play this bullshit because I'm just like, I don't need my headcanon confirmed by a show because, like, I'm an adult. Except this is just so reprehensible. The fact that, again, you do, like, very minor, Jake mentioned, but very minor, like, spoiler for Picard Season 3, you do see a ship museum. And in the distance, you see the NX-1. And she has the secondary hull. Which only makes it... Because there's something they had talked about doing and definitely did in novels. That, like, she got a refit and got a secondary hull.
They lifted from Jake's idea, evidently.
No, I lifted it from
Oh.
there.
But, so in Picard Season 3, you see her with a secondary hull, which in theory didn't happen if she was put in mothballs the way she was in this, because she was...
Oh, that's a good point.
So as far as I'm concerned, that is their very subtle retcon. This episode, at least didn't happen this way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to be fair though, it's also possible that she was put in mothballs and then Starfleet had need of another
Nope.
ship.
Section 31 leapt out.
No,
I was like, oh shit.
The Cylons were attacking.
We're suddenly in a war with the
Palpatine
Romulans.
came
We need
back
every
again
ship
somehow.
we can get.
well, that actually would make sense. But no, I prefer to... I choose to believe they're saying very subtly, this terrible episode that is bad and makes the Pegasus worse didn't happen.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I think it's a fanfic.
Like, I don't even care if you still say, look, it didn't happen like this, but I'm sorry, Trip is still dead. Fine, whatever.
Sure.
But at least give him a better death for a better reason.
And
Make
maybe
it-
in a context that doesn't automatically call everything into question because this is a hollow novel.
Yeah, and again, like, also it means that Riker wasn't fucking playing video games during the Pegasus.
Yeah.
Jesus Christmas.
Just looking down at my card, I found a fun note, and that's that. So this was a Berman Braga
Yeah, I looked
collaboration, obviously. The two of them have tried to defend it over the years. Braga's given up. Berman, I think Berman has finally given up. But Braga came around and was like, oh yeah, whoops, sorry guys. But the original idea was there was going to be a Sussman show, and his idea was, we're still doing it's technically kind of through the veil of a different show, and this is Voyager, and we see the EMH, and he's treating a patient in the future, and it's Archer. And that's all I read about this idea, and they obviously didn't do it.
He'd be like 300 years old.
I mean, it could be a time-displaced Archer.
There, yeah, I did say that earlier, yeah.
They do that a lot.
Oh, God, imagine if they opened the door to Archer existing in the 25th century.
No.
God
No.
save us.
No, that's okay. No, we're good.
What about Q? Can we get Q in on this?
No.
I mean, Q really is the glue that ties Voyager Enterprise or Voyager DS9 and TNG together.
Mm.
He never appears in. Oh, maybe Q is Time Daddy.
But why would he have done? Because he's cute.
Yeah, I mean, the Temporal Cold War was a mistake.
It was so dumb.
They did not have a plan. They very clearly didn't have a plan.
That shows how bad this was as an idea, though, that we keep just going, we'd rather have seen temporal Cold War shit than this.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, could we do a temporal Cold War thing where it's, again, like somebody trying to stop the Federation.
Not even a temporal Cold War thing. Even if you just it's an angry Suliban out for revenge. Like, we were going to be amazing.
And
in that
that
way,
ties it into the rest of the series.
Yeah, and you can have the Suliban they don't vanish because the temporal Cold War ended. They're out there somewhere.
Right.
And you could have a guy who was like, we were going to be amazing. We were going to be gods. You ruined it.
Yeah, bring back the Suliban. Somebody's trying to find a ship that they lost years ago.
No, that ship, we forgot about that ship, I think. That would be pretty great, though.
There were just so many other elements that could have been used to tie up a story that would be a retrospective on the whole series of, like, here are the things that we have, the ways in which the story and our world has grown. Like, if whatever the conflict was to solve it, they got help from the Xindi because now they've,
Yeah!
resolved everything with the Xindi. That would have been something. It would have been like we were able to get to this resolution and to the Federation because of the friendships we forged so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something. This was fucking, you might as well have had Bob Newhart wake up in bed.
Yeah.
For this fucking ending. Like Admiral Bob Newhart on San Francisco. Like, oh God, that was awful.
Yeah, don't do that. Oh God, there was
and then a little boy shakes a snow globe.
There was a terrible season 1 Data joke too. Even
yes,
though
there was.
The Pegasus was in season 7.
Yep.
Yeah.
The joke is like, can we have a rain check, Data? Well, I don't understand what precipitation has to do. Data, what?
But also,
what?
Again, that's a good point too. What was happening with this mission? You are looking for a ship that anyone aside from Riker and I can't remember his character's name, but Terry O'Quinn.
Pressman.
Thank you. Admiral Pressman knows is a ship that was thought lost, has potentially been found. The Romulans are here. We need to find it before then because all we know is there's some sort of experimental tech on here. Like, Data was helping lead the search, and then they had to, do a fake search because they found it, but we don't want the Romulans to know we found it. We got to do this. He would not, in the middle of all this bullshit, be like, I'm going to have fun times with Chancellor. Counselor Croy.
Chancellor Croy.
Yeah. Again, nothing anyone did made sense for what was happening in the Pegasus.
No, because it was a fucking fan wank, and we needed to get Spiner in because everyone loves Spiner, so we'll get him in. But he can't actually show up because he's, doing something else. So,
he's definitely aged.
Let's just have him literally phone it in,
Honestly, when you were saying a special instead of a thing, I thought it was, it could have had, I think this was probably after Nemesis, but I don't care. It could have been fucking alternate timeline Oxford professor Data with the streak in his hair, telling a story from his study. Hello,
covered in cats.
Yeah, hello, children. I'm going to tell you the tale of the last voyage of the NX-01. That would have been a better episode.
I still like my Nexus idea best.
Oh yeah, that's definitely, it is dumb in a way I'm 1,000% on board for.
I have a couple more little nitpicks just to knock off of the card. And that's, I know we talked about dress uniforms before, and we get to see Archer at the end in his dress uniform. And I remember when we talked about them for a Blogtivity, hey, check out the Blogtivities, they're great. I think we said we generally liked it because it looked kind of like a cross between today formal and future formal and blah, blah, blah. But looking at it in motion, it looks like a sailor onesie.
Yeah, no, the cut's not great, the material's not great.
Needed a belt.
Needed a belt!
Yeah, they clearly had 10 minutes to put it together, and put it together in 10 minutes. I think if they had time, it could have looked better.
Oh God, yeah, okay. I'm looking it up again because I hate it. I hate it. I hate every costume on this show. The only exceptions for me are some of the Vulcan wardrobes. I feel like
The
they're
Carbon Creek uniforms are amazing.
Carbon Creek was all right. Casual wear among the Vulcans, like when T'Pol goes home, like, oh, I actually don't hate a lot of these. And I also realized it's because it's early 2000s, just like fucking active wear or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a problem with that, because again,
Now, I remember you had commented, I was like, yeah, that's, because you pointed out, it's like, because it just feels like they just
very off the rack.
fucking went into an Abercrombie and Fitch or whatever and bought something. And that's fair. And that's been my problem with the suits in this series. Like, anyone in a suit, I'm like, you just look like you walked in from, like, I don't know, from the White House, from the Bush administration, W. Bush administration. You just walk in with the same suit. There's no evolution here.
Being fair to the suits, I guess. I don't know why I'm being fair to
I don't know why you would be
show,
there.
but World War III happened. Fashion died for decades.
So
humanity's rebuilding. It's like, what was it? What did our suits look like? It's like, so there's kind of been like, there's been no evolution because there was a period of no fashion.
I call bullshit on that, though.
It's the best I can do. And again, I don't know why I'm trying.
That's right. But like World War II happened and it fucking ravaged everybody economically.
But it didn't almost destroy the species.
Eh.
That's different.
Eh.
We know.
Maybe you should be starting over from scratch. You shouldn't even have anything
at that
to
point,
start with.
At that point, they could literally like they could just like open up a book and be like, hey, the Victorians had pretty good suits. Let's do that, and then go on.
Actually, you know what it is? We do know the post-atomic horror from the trial in TNG. Like, clothes got really weird.
Yeah.
So what happened is everyone reset. It's like things got really Mad Max, and they were just like, guys, we cannot show up to Parliament in spiked cod pieces. We're bringing back suits.
Twitter talk.
Yeah, no, I do like the uniforms still.
I hate the uniform. No,
really?
I dislike the
like
jumpsuits, the
them.
fucking space flight suits.
But that is one thing I give them. It feels like a nice bridge between like old timey astronauts.
They have a million pockets.
So many pockets.
I accept that. But whenever it's like which season premiere was it? Was it season 3 when they're in the stadium getting the heroes welcome? No, season 4 premiere.
Season 4, yeah.
Season 4 premiere, and they're getting the heroes welcome with the shitty stadium. You guys talked at length about that, and the bad lighting. They're all standing there, and like, this is supposed to be we are talking about
why aren't they formal then?
This is the military. If anyone is gonna have a snappy formal look, it's gonna be military uniforms, and they're showing up in their onesies.
Yeah, no, but I mean, as uniforms for just being on the ship, they're fine.
For being on the ship,
yes,
it's very
you're
practical.
right.
It's fine.
For a formal event,
I still hate it, but it's fine because it makes sense logically in the story.
Where are the scans? They need scans.
I'm also really embarrassed that this is what has woken me up, but.
They even could have pulled a Kelvin timeline, and I hate this in the Kelvin timeline.
Oh, they're Nazi uniforms.
Yeah, that the dress uniform is just a suit, which again, based on what we've seen of this world, would like they're just in a blue, Air Force ass looking, just uniform. That would have made sense. You're right. They should have been in something more formal then. But for just tooling around the galaxy, a jumpsuit with a shitload of pockets. Fine with it. I also like I even like the color.
I didn't
which
love
they
that
changed
they
partway
put name
through.
tags on everybody.
That looks so distracting.
I swear, my headcanon is that they didn't actually do that in the real world. That's for the players.
So that's
so that you can go like...
that's good.
It's like a little avatar thing above their head.
Yeah.
The little sim...
Also, you...
Plumb bob.
Yeah, exactly. That's my
Sim is
headcanon.
sad.
I have no way to explain away those obviously taped-on epaulets that didn't need to be there.
What did Riker say? Did anybody
I didn't look.
In what?
What his name? Did he have a name tag?
Did he have a name tag on his?
Oh, I didn't catch it.
I'd have to look later.
Chef.
Yes. Well, Chef
No matter what
was in a chef's
character
coat, so it didn't matter.
But yeah, when he was in like Kelby's uniform, it should have been Kelby.
Nah.
Oh God.
A couple other little things. Archer's little pep talk with T'Pol after Trip's death.
She never did like crowds.
Well, not that one. The one before, where she's sniffing Trip's clothes, which was cute.
A little.
I like the clothes sniffing.
Fair enough.
I hated Archer's line. Well, they say time heals all wounds, but absence makes the heart grow fonder. I'm like, Archer, what are you doing?
Actually, I got to admit though, like that made a weird sense for Archer because he's so bad at everything, but also like. It never occurred to me, but yeah, those are two very contradictory things we say all the time. And he's just like, I think it feels like something he was saying. He was trying to be comforting and then just confused himself. which is weirdly human. Because, like, it is hard to comfort someone. And also, let's be honest, he's in a bad place, too.
Yeah.
His, like, best fucking friend is dead for, like, the dumbest
He
reason.
should be getting comforted.
Yeah. And it's like,
They're
like,
there.
yeah, seriously. But, like, when he said it, I was just like, yeah, wait a minute, these are incompatible lines. Hold on. We gotta pick a lane.
Who's Elaine?
Nah.
Yeah, but yeah, speaking of the speech at the end, where they cut the episode before he gives the speech, and I feel like a lot of fans have felt really blue balls by that. I don't know how I feel, because we got an Archer speech in the previous episode that I'm
And it
sure would
was
have been exactly
fine.
the same.
I think what bothers me the most about that, and it was really funny because I was finishing up the episode as Ames was coming to get me, and you're like, I'm heading over. I'm like, great, that's fine. Archer's about to give his speech, so close to the end of the episode,
No, he
and then
isn't.
the next scene happens. I'm like, what? And honestly, like, you could still have a perfect, like, a well-written episode could still have had that happen where he goes out to make the big speech and we don't hear it, but it's not important. But the problem here is that if it ended at that moment where it's like him at the podium before the entire crowd, swell of music, the end, fine. But it goes on and gives other people the last word that are not our heroes that we've followed so far.
Yeah, are the last lines computer in program?
No, it's these are the voyages.
Oh, well, that's the montage bit though. That's not in the
Yeah, no, the
in the
last
scene.
line is, I think, computer and program.
Yeah, because it then cuts to Riker and Troy.
Okay, yeah.
The last shot of our heroes is up to Paul's bum.
Yep, that's
Is
in my
it?
notes. That's in my notes.
Is
because
it?
Yep.
Fuck!
Because my notes go, aw, hug, and then the next line is, aw, butt.
I hate this show.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
better-
It's just to Paul standing in a room away from the camera.
Shot from behind. Because that fucking suit.
No reason for her to not have been in formal Vulcan robes at this point.
Yeah, I don't know why she was in a fucking velour jumpsuit. She
Which
was looking
again,
like casual McCoy.
this episode hasn't gone live yet for you, Liz, but like one thing I mentioned for last week's is like they had her in a scene at the end of the real finale in Morning, and it's one of the few times where she was just in Vulcan garb. You know, they let her have an emotional scene in dignified clothes, which I gave them a lot of credit for, which they have now just flushed down the fucking toilet. Okay, here we go. Archer gets up to the podium, taps on the microphone like you do when you're a archer.
Yeah.
Taps on it though. Snakes pop out. Mayweather stands up. Pranked.
Perfect. No notes.
God, any of these possible points, just to give Mayweather some more. No. The show doesn't let the minorities
Each
talk.
character does get a moment with Chef, and it's like I can see what you're doing. You're like kind of like giving each character their kind of like last little moments, but they're with Chef.
Did Mayweather?
Yes,
everybody.
I've honestly forgotten.
I mean, that was honestly. I feel like that. I was like, all right, this is at least like one of the more like. It's more transparent about like this is a fictional reenactment because the fact that he's getting everybody to roll dough with him, that's not meant to be a continuous timeline. He probably backtracked and was like, do that again, but now switch in this character.
Invite in
instead.
this character.
Yeah,
That's
well,
how
he
you-
did it, and he did it with because Trip's moment
it's,
was after Trip's
Yeah,
death,
he rewound.
so it was a rewind.
Yeah.
that is proof
Oh yeah,
that
because he was
whoever
eating an unpeeled carrot, the weirdo.
that is proof though that whoever wrote this really didn't know the Enterprise crew. Because Phlox just would have been in the celery drawer, just like shoving it in his mouth. And Chef's like, no, stop. Bad, Phlox. Bad.
I did hate that the last moment we get with Phlox is him doing his stupid smile.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like, guys, you stopped doing that for a reason. Everyone agreed it was dumb.
Did they? I think people fucking
They're
love
like,
Phlox.
Ugh.
man, we really fucked up with that stadium CGI. Let's show some slightly better CG.
Yikes.
Would it really have been so expensive to just like get a local stadium and put people in it?
Would it have been that expensive to just do a fucking TOS backdrop, which would have looked better?
No,
yeah,
that too.
somehow painted on.
I mean, after like the homecoming, returning heroes thing, where it looked like shit.
at home?
Yeah.
It's like, let's do it again.
Then they did this, and it looks even shittier
Somehow.
now. Like they were showing these shots of like the DS where they were like gonna be gathering, and it looks so fucking bad.
I bet it's the same exact fucking CG from season 3 from when Daniels brought him to the signing. They probably didn't even remake it.
It probably
Yeah, no,
because this one had much
Oh,
longer.
you're probably right, but that was further away. So
It was and also like not as many not as long of shots because there's scenes in this one where they're like panning across this CG generated crowd, and they're very clearly just like little smudges instead of people.
Yeah.
And like there's a scene where they're all clapping, and if you watch it, it's like they took these little like dots, and they're the clapping hands are just like these dots that are going back and forth, and they're all in sync with each other. It just looks so terrible.
The thing is, and like I'm trying to think of like the original airing context, and I watched this on a pretty big TV back in the day, like this show. So it was not my TV; it belonged to someone who had grandma's money paying for their apartment. But like it was not. This is not a thing you can hand wave of like, oh, it was the '60s. They had much smaller screens. Oh, it was 1988.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I don't think I had an HD TV.
No, but like it was still bigger.
Yeah.
I fucking Phantom Menace, which is infamously everyone assumes everything was CG, and actually there was a lot more model work than people give it credit for. The way it did the crowds at the goddamn pod race.
Oh yeah,
they built like a model of the stands.
The stands.
And basically literally just painted a bunch of Q-tips, put them in slots, and then someone just kind of jiggled it, and that gave just enough movement. And like, you couldn't have done something like that.
They weren't building a model.
I mean, like, I don't know who was working on. I don't know the people who worked on the special effects for this one. I know that like at the time there were a lot of instances where it was we could do this the old-fashioned way with models, or we can do this with our fancy new CG, and it looks amazing to us because we just created that on a computer. Look at that. Never mind, like, it looks like shit.
So bad.
The fact that we can say we just did that with CG. It's new fancy technology.
Yeah. Again, like, literally, a fucking static painting would have looked better.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been less distracting.
Yeah, have it be also just a little bit out of focus so you don't notice. Because these were like, they were just sharp, like literally, like I said, like it looks like a coloring book. Because there were just sharp lines filled in with color.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, if we're talking about, like, considering how little definition there was to what they executed, I seriously think, like, it's in pure Star Trek fashion to just get some local building.
Yep.
That looks interesting, refit it, put some stands up, put people in it, like, make the simplest possible costumes, or tell them to show up just, like, in a single color, outfit. We might slap some blue paint on some of you, but we're going to put you in the distance.
So it's not going to
Everything out of focus, so it all looks like enough that you're just going to look past it, and it won't look as bad.
I know that they had already kind of established it with the Daniels thing, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that the signing of this diplomatic accord is happening at like the Super Bowl. Like, why are they in this massive fucking stadium with
and not like in an office?
In like an office, or like exactly, like in a room with a big long table or something.
It's the future, and everything is for likes. I don't know. It's like that Black Mirror episode where you just watch everything on TV and rate it.
I mean, if you actually wanted to take the time to do some kind of world building, you could have made some. You could have at least, like, you could have dedicated a couple lines to saying, like, well, the Andorians, do everything in the open, or the Vulcans do it this way, so this is a compromise, or, or it is like Star Trek 6, and it's like, these are all diplomats and emissaries.
Yeah, but that took place, like, so that's a good example, too, because, right, we're basically just in like an assembly hall. I mean, there's probably only a couple hundred people.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good-sized room, but it was still smaller than this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, that's something that you could realistically fill with extras on a TV budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I have one final question. So we talked about all the little scenelets that Chef had with everybody cooking hush puppies or what have you. Did Riker have any scenes with Archer?
Did he not?
He had scenes looking at Archer.
Because Archer, I don't think, came and made food with him.
No.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't think they
Why not? If Archer's, like, if he's here to, like, get perspective from the captain of the original Enterprise.
Well, no, his point is the fact that Trip... What order did Trip disobey? Was it Archer not wanting him? Because that was his whole point, was like, he felt stuck with Pressman's orders versus his loyalty to Picard. That's it. Like, his whole arc doesn't make sense. Like, do not think about it.
Yeah, they didn't come up with a very realistic scenario for, like, the challenge of the episode doesn't seem in any way applicable to the problem that Riker's trying to solve. Like, this is not, like, it's almost like Troy told, go check out this mission. Check out this. Find this thing about the cogenitor, because like Trip had to make it, or find this thing about. Go watch the Sim episode.
Yeah,
that's a much better episode for like dealing with a challenging problem.
Yeah, be like if I went to my fucking shrink because I'm having an emotional issue, and they were like, "Go play Mass Effect. That'll fix it." It's like, I mean, I like Mass Effect, but what?
There's a certain character arc in Mass Effect that reminds me of this. You should play it.
Which one?
Well, Riker also, I guess Riker hadn't really told Troy what the deal was until later in the episode. So he was just like, hey, so he probably just told her like, hey, I have this tough thing I'm trying to deal with. What did you recommend? And she's like, hey, go to the fucking holodeck. I gotta go hang with Broccoli.
But yeah, no, she didn't have a scene with Archer. That is weird.
Isn't it?
You know what would have been
Archer
great?
does say to T'Pol, everyone, we need to find out everyone's favorite food again. Well, we got Reed done at least, so we got one.
Actually, you know what? Having Riker be the chef, they could have had a legendary, like this would have made the episode good actually, a legendary redemption arc by having him make an omelet.
Yes.
And it not look like shit.
I was like, all I can think of is the fact that what we know of Riker up to this point, and will be established again later,
he's a terrible cook.
He's an awful cook. So the fact that he's chef is hilarious, kind of. Like,
and like giving
and
advice.
that's why he gets to have
shit.
without his fantasy of being a good cook.
Yeah.
It did not occur to me that he didn't have a scene with Archer aside from observing him on the bridge that time, because when they paused and Troy was like, he's cute, and then walked out.
Ugh.
Yeah, I was just going through
he
screen grabs to try to find what am I going to put in the thumbnail for this episode? Like something with Riker, obviously, because that's what this episode's about somehow. And I just realized, he does not talk to Archer.
But like, which could, I mean, this is if we're just accepting the conceit of this episode and just running with this as a TNG episode, shoehorned into the Enterprise finale. That could still be a plot point if someone's like, hey, have you talked? Like if Troy was like, have you talked to Archer yet? No. Why? Like maybe he's got a psychological avoidance to it. He doesn't want to get the answer directly from him.
That something that would have been.
But they didn't do any of that. They just didn't do it.
Also, I'm reminded now. I hate that they decided Hoshi thought Trip was cute.
Yeah.
Like here's the thing. Yeah, Trip is fucking cute, but there's never been any point in this show. Like, one thing I liked was the fact that it seemed like they maybe were just colleagues and neither thought the other was attractive. Like,
yeah,
didn't need this in the 11th hour.
But also, T'Pol never liked crowds.
He never did.
But also, all of the women need to have a crush on the men. Like, it just needs to happen. That's half the purpose of having the women in the show, apparently, is for them to be sexy and or attractive or attracted to one of our heroic men.
I know, and that thing is, up until this point, Hoshi'd at least avoided the latter.
Oh yeah, because she's I don't know, she's an Asian woman who's infantilized half the time on this show.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like her and Reed should have got together if anyone had. Again, I don't think they need to at all. But again, I just feel like they're both so socially awkward that if one of them could have broken through that and asked the other out, they would have been very compatible in that they're both weird.
They probably could have played that interestingly, yeah.
Yeah, just like we're both socially awkward and we can relate on a socially awkward level that no one else understands but us.
I think the both would just have like a gaming night together.
Yeah.
That's all it has to be.
I would actually have liked to have seen them just be buddies.
Yeah, we know Reed is supposed to be like the chess champ of the ship. So.
Apparently. That came up in one episode and never again.
Mm-hmm.
And T'Pol never liked crowds.
Yeah, T'Pol never liked crowds. I lied. I have one final thing that I want to harp on. Is that Troy spoils the ending at some point.
Yeah.
For no reason.
He's never coming back.
He doesn't even realize he's gonna die.
Why
Troy,
do that?
what?
What?
Why do that? Like,
I thought
again,
that I assumed that was meant to be like a foreshadowing of like keep watching, viewer.
That's
Why is he
not-
not making it back?
Foreshadowing when it's just literally.
Here's how the episode ends.
Yeah, and it's not like we're gonna stop watching. There's 20 minutes left.
Like she could have said something like he had no idea what was about to happen.
that's foreshadowing.
And that's because that's it's ominous, but it's not literally telling you how the thing's gonna end.
Yeah, or even not even he. Oh, they don't know what's coming. Yeah, exactly.
like-
I don't know. I'm not as bothered by it because I felt like it was vague, and because she didn't say he didn't know he was gonna die.
She said he didn't know he wasn't coming back.
He wasn't gonna make it back,
Yeah.
and that was right after the line of like, oh, we'll be back to do whatever with the whatever they're wrapping up with the ship. And so it's like, okay, well, that's making us worry that he's gonna die, or maybe I don't know, fucking Wesley Crusher will pop in out of nowhere and nab him, or like something else, or like he just never comes back to the Enterprise because he serves on some other ship or something.
Man, this Rigel place, I'm gonna stay here forever.
Okay, I'm gonna hang out with Strand.
You're not gonna get robbed this time. 5 minutes later, cut to him tied up in a basement again. Son of a bitch!
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was on Ryza though.
Oh, right. Fuck.
Rigel is where they watch the butterfly women eating butterflies.
Okay, tied up in a space basement.
You can still be tied up.
He's just gonna meet. He's just gonna come out with like arm in arm with two butterfly women.
Like Doc and Shorely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the Troy dropping that is just to get the fans to be like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, it's fucking dumb. It's all dumb. It's so dumb. It's
Like
bad.
this show.
Yeah.
I mean, there were like at least 3 okay episodes this season, and probably at least 5 okay episodes throughout the whole show.
Yeah.
I wonder what they are.
Fourth season was far more watchable. It was bearable to watch for me, especially compared to season 3, but in general. But that's because they're just rehashing older series episodes, but shittier.
Yeah, that's the thing. Season 4, and it's partly because I think so many of them are 2 and 3 parters. Like, almost all of them are 2 and 3 parters.
Yeah.
And that I can't really, it's harder to view each one kind of individually. So I kind of do a lot of the kind of clumping-ish.
Yeah.
But almost the whole season ended up in the meh pile for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
a couple outliers that were bad, one outlier that I thought was any good. Everything else was like, okay, what do I do with the rest of this?
Yeah, no, I mean, it also, just season 4 is better than season 3 because season 3 is philosophically reprehensible.
Oh, it's absolutely vile.
It is the worst season of any Star Trek ever.
Something I realized going through all the episodes and trying to remember which ones stood out at all is there were a lot of episodes where I was like, this writing is atrocious, but it's at least watchable. Why is it watchable? It's directed by LeVar Burton, Roxanne Dawson.
There you go.
What's his face? Robert,
Duncan McNeil.
Thank you.
Robbie McNeil. I don't know, Robbie had a bad one, though, at one point.
Yeah,
He had one bit of bad choreography.
He's not my favorite, but like Roxanne Dawson and LeVar Burton usually popped up whenever I was like, why am I okay watching this? Like this is terrible, but it's not making my skin crawl terrible. Also, there are more minorities in this episode, LeVar Burton.
Mm-hmm.
If there's more than one black person guest appearing in the episode, check the director. It's probably LeVar Burton.
Oh,
That's interesting. I like that.
Listen, this show has made me so mad because, like, by the end of the show, I'm sitting here, I'm like, this is a racist show.
Mm-hmm.
For Star Trek, it is racist.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just because of the jingoistic, like, Patriot Act bullshit that we get in this show. It's because of how much it sidelines. It literally tokenizes the POCs. Because, like, and it tells me so much about Braga and Berman. Because, like, you guys have called out how little Mayweather says or does in this whole show. How, like, when Hoshi does show up and then she'll vanish for a while and then she shows up again, she's subjected to both the racism and misogyny of the showrunners, like, choices. It's all focused on the white guys, and most of the other characters who show up who are important are also white and usually dudes.
It is somehow the most conservative Star Trek, and the original is from 1966.
It's hideously bad in that regard.
Yeah.
And it shows. Like, the whole thing is just mean-spirited, uncompelling. Like, oh, God, it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad.
I've said it repeatedly. I do not know why on my first watch through I thought it had any redeeming qualities. I think, again, because I hadn't...
Trip is their redeeming quality, and they kill him off.
Yeah, and I just had not seen a significant amount of other Star Trek in a very long time. And it was like, oh, wait, no, this show is bad. The show is as bad as the internet thinks.
Everyone's
Yeah,
got-
Which I hate agreeing with the internet on anything, but
Yeah, I started off not liking Archer, and he never got any better.
yeah, no, I really do not know. Yeah, no, Trip is like the best part of the show, hands down. Again, his arc should have been Archer's arc. I wish they'd given everyone else anything to do.
I mean, to Paul, they do a lot with.
Yeah,
True.
I did
But
end
what
up
is-
liking T'Pol more than I thought.
But
I would.
then they randomly gave them a baby at the very end.
And then they killed that off.
I mean, at least like
I was almost impressed. Like killing a baby is a little is
That was-
kind of gutsy.
yeah, it is. Especially
But-
even then.
But it also gives them this huge emotional gut punch at like the characters, this huge emotional gut punch that there's no time or room to unpack.
no.
And
then
they
we
don't.
jump
and- yeah,
6
and then we
years.
jump to 6 years, so we don't really get to see them working it out.
No,
You just
and
know
it's
that
just,
apparently
it just has
broke them.
to Paul sitting there crying, or Chloe coming as close to crying as you expect of a Vulcan. Which, like, my problem with the Vulcans in this show. What the fuck?
That scene was really well done. It's a credit to both the actors.
Yeah.
Like everything that led up to it, who knows? But anyway, let's get to it because we have 2 lists to get through. I'm gonna
Make it
start
quick.
Chris is starting.
tops for
Ooh,
season
You're
4.
starting with tops. I love when we start with tops.
We usually do, but
No,
this
we don't. You always fight to start with bottoms.
true.
Do you cycle through one at a time still, or are you back
Well,
to doing...
3 and 3,
Oh, okay,
or rather, yeah, we'll just do batch and batch.
sure.
Yeah, fuck this show. It doesn't deserve to end on a top. Yeah, no, honestly, this season deeply meh. So my literally my note. Sure, Terra Prime. Why not? Real finale had some thematic points, which are still sadly annoyingly relevant. United?
Whoa.
Needlessly convoluted Romulan bullshit. Stupid duel is funny.
That one made that the worst of that 3-parter for me.
And because you knew this was coming.
Yeah, already got it down.
Yeah. In a Mirror Darkly.
Just the whole thing?
If I'm allowed, if not part 2.
Yeah, part 2 I think is
Because that has the most ridiculous bullshit.
neat. I'll go next because I have exactly no overlap with Chris. Shocking everyone. Although you'll enjoy this because everything was so meh.
Mhm.
My number 4 was In a Mirror Darkly.
Wow, that is a sign of how bad this season was.
Not because I cared for that episode. I think I said during our coverage of it, I was just kind of tired throughout it because I've seen this a million times. But because the rest of the episodes just all they run together.
Mhm.
Every time there's this was a season of, oh look, a thing from TOS. Every week was, oh look, Romulans,
Mhm.
for reasons. But anyway, so my actual top 3 from season 4, I'm gonna say Cold Station 12 because I
Oh.
like Brent Spiner in it.
Yeah.
I think that was the episode he was good in. He got to have a
Probably.
nice moment with his dying son.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, the Enar, because I liked Jamel.
Fair.
That's it. That's the only reason.
Fair enough.
And number 1, the one that I actually thought was pretty good this season, not necessarily because it was a good episode, but because it was executed very well, was Observer Effect.
Yeah, that one's okay.
Which was the creepy one with the Observer
Yeah,
aliens,
yeah.
the Organians, and then, Trip and Hoshi, spring up from death, and that's fun. I like that.
Yay.
I like that for them.
So it's funny. I actually had complete and total overlap with Chris.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
In the same order. Even.
Wow,
No kidding.
Like,
Wow.
like, seriously, like that's
Yeah,
the order that I
no,
wrote them in.
same order. So, Liz, you've got double duty.
Yeah, so I'll give you Caitlin since she is the established person here, the established character on the show. Her
We're
top.
gonna give no lines.
Does that make you Shran?
Ooh, I love it.
I can get away with calling you all pink skin
That's true.
for the just.
That is true.
Just-
Feel free.
And then that's the only line I'll get in the episode. Caitlin's tops are Observer Effect,
Ah.
Sweet.
so overlap with you.
Yay.
Demons. Which one was Demons again? That was a recent.
Oh, that
one.
was the before Terror Prime, so that
That
one
was
kind of
yeah, part of the Terror
Slightly
Prime.
overlaps
Terror
with
Prime
me.
Part 1.
There you go. And Borderland. I can't remember which
That
one
was,
Borderland
that
is.
was the first of
Yeah,
that,
where they go
of
to
that
the Orion
trilogy.
slave market.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
That one. Yeah. Okay.
So again, sort of overlap with you.
I bet it's because Brent
Brent
Spiner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We can get specifics from her later.
Yeah,
Okay.
Caitlin and I have a soft spot for Brent Spiner. So.
Oh, so do I.
I mean,
but not
he's-
enough
he's
for
delightful,
those episodes
but,
to
you
make
know,
my list.
That's Her bottoms are.
No.
Oh, no,
Oh, we're not.
bottom's
We're not. I've lost. I lost track.
Now it's your tops.
Oh fuck! All right. So, okay, this was very difficult. But my tops in no particular order because it was 2 a.m. when I was putting it
Yeah.
together. Acquisition, And so here's the thing.
Mm.
Any shows that stood out to me as remotely bearable or watchable or enjoyable.
No. This is just the season 4 tops and bottoms. You're on the series.
Season 4!
Did
Did you do a season 4 specifically?
Alright, I got that. Alright, Observer Effect.
Okay.
Okay.
That's because I thought that, as long as you accept the conceit and just run with it, I thought the performances were interesting. I thought, they actually were able to do something raising the stakes a bit emotionally, because they could do the little wipe at the end, which felt a little forced, but fine, whatever, raise them from the dead. United. Mm-hmm. And that is mainly because of Strand and Talus. I thought, their emotional, scenes and chemistry were quite decent. And then Terra Prime, because Peter Weller. In this show, the guest actors tend to save episodes for me.
RoboCop, can't go wrong.
There was
one in his mouth.
There was one monologue. It was about yes and no, yes to this and no to this. I'm listening to him this is a terrible monologue, but he worked with it. So he's trying to spin gold out of shit, and he's at least getting silver.
Yeah. I do like that we now have some Troy foreshadowing for your series tops and bottoms.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. Oh, no.
It's a shame that we already know one
we
of
already know that looks like Ferengis.
Tops, not bottoms.
So, bottoms.
Woo!
Divergence. Fuck this unneeded explanation.
Really? That one of the two?
Because that is how... because that's... it's the one where we get the denouement.
See, I'm annoyed because of these two-parters, because they're the same episode, but it means they have to find you...
Remind me which one this is?
That's where we find out why they're smooth Klingons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Divergence, fuck this unneeded explanation.
Yeah.
These Are the Voyages, fuck this whole concept.
Yep.
Bound, fuck you, misogyny.
Oh my god, fuck that episode.
So congratulations, Bound. You are worse than an episode that I claim doesn't exist. Fuck you, Rick Berman. You're gone. And this is one of the last times I'm going to say, fuck you, Rick Berman. Fuck you.
Wow. That was harsh. You're next.
My next. So on the flippy flip side, I didn't say Divergence, I said Affliction.
There we go.
Divergence is the second one, Affliction is the first one.
Yes.
And I'm saying Affliction because that's where they bring back fucking Section 31.
Yeah.
And it's fucking trash. And it does this fucking Klingon nonsense, which I hate.
Yeah.
But I gave Divergence an extra half a point because Phlox sticks to his actual ethics that episode when dealing with Antac, and I liked the two of them. So I went with Divergence instead, I went with Affliction instead of Divergence for my number 3. My number 2 is These Are the Voyages. Oh my fucking god, this isn't even an Enterprise episode. It's like how Operation Earth, Assignment Earth.
I meant to bring that up during the episode. I'm glad you did.
Made all of our bottoms lists for TOS because it wasn't a Star Trek episode. So fuck this. And worst fucking thing in a very, very long time is Bound, because wow, they just had an episode of girls prancing around in bikinis, and that was all it was.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how our lists are basically turning into These Are the Voyages, Bound, and Wild Card.
Yeah. I take it that's yours?
Yeah.
What's your wild card?
My wild
Jake?
card is the Augments.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not care for the Augments. I didn't care for that whole trilogy.
Yeah, that was fair.
But
and the Augments is the third one. Which is the most wasted one.
Is very weak. I feel like there were other ones I could have used, other episodes, but
no, it works.
I was like, Augments. It's not like the problem is you have These Are the Voyages and Bound, which are offensively bad.
Yes.
And then everything else, like you were saying, Ames, just kind of
middling.
Yeah.
There's nothing else that just makes my blood boil as much as those two.
Yeah.
Did Caitlin keep this going?
Caitlin's bottoms. These Are the Voyages.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin's gonna break off from others here and go with Terra Prime.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, she didn't like Terra Prime.
She did not like Terra Prime.
Oh, I'm gonna.
But she liked demons. That's funny. I like that.
Fascinating.
So she did break up the 2-part, yeah.
Then again, I liked part 1 of Time's Arrow and didn't like part 2, so...
So that had a break between
them. It did, but still.
And Bound is her third, because she's correct.
Wow, so Bound and These Are the Voyages have both swept your regular hosts here.
How about our Shran?
I'm going to break away from These Are the Voyages because I'll put that at my number 4, really.
Fair.
It didn't just make me shout at my screen nearly as much as Bound.
Yep.
Good.
Which I have summarized in parentheses as Orion bullshit.
I am glad Bound swept. deserved to.
It's absolutely
Super
disgusting. I went with Divergence because the whole time I'm watching, like, this is unnecessary. This is
Completely.
unnecessary. And as soon as, like, we need to inject it in some, like, oh, no, it's got to be Archer.
Oh god, and the Archer acting is really bad.
It's so bad. And then suddenly he's got, like, Vulcan and Klingon in him. And it's weird
I
and
hate
dumb.
that.
And none of it feels growth. And then I'm going to go with In a Mirror Darkly because...
Someone hates fun.
Tell me more, Liz.
I remember when I first watched that episode back in the day, on, Grandma Money Big TV, that...
Calling this episode Grandma Money Big
Grandma
TV.
Money Big
Fuck
TV.
it. He doesn't deserve a real
He
title.
doesn't listen to this episode anyway, to the show anyway. That's fine.
I lit the Pegasus.
I remember thinking, man, I'm going to tell myself that Bakula must be a really nice guy because he does not know how to act evil.
See, we said this on, had this discussion online, but for me, half of the fun is how bad his evil acting is. It's hysterical.
It just makes me, it's so painful to watch.
He's
and then,
way more evil in season 3 of Enterprise.
Yeah.
And
We're supposed
seriously.
to think he's a good guy. It's very upsetting.
But, like, you also, you guys, I think you touched on this in your discussion of just, like, how much they lean into, like, the sexy women aspect of Mirror Mirror.
That
like,
stuff is gross.
Like, you can make a nod to some of that, but you still have to evolve past because that was within a 60s cultural context.
Yeah.
So there was some aspect of that was arguably empowering for late 60s that men could capitalize off of and do the ogling.
Yeah, and at least Kirk had his sleeves cut off.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
one. There was the only eye candy was for straight men.
And again, we have
Intended for straight men.
We have established that Mayweather, his real name is escaping me.
Tony Montgomery.
Tony Montgomery has great fucking arms.
He's absolutely gorgeous.
And the rest is nice too.
Well, yes, but we have brought particular attention, like...
But even setting aside the eye candy, the character arcs and moments are still just like either women being passive and getting thrown around like sexy lamps, or being just demonically seductive because bitches, am I right?
Bitches.
Like the only thing close to anything redeeming in that regard is Hoshi at the end having that little like triumph of like, I'm gonna be Empress.
That was...
Right.
That
And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. People did talk about that when they got into mirror episodes in Discovery with Giorgio.
but again,
But to get there, she was just sleeping with. Anytime she turned, if there was a shot and she suddenly turned to a man, I was like, she's gonna start making out with him. And then she started making out with him. I'm like, can we just have a woman doing something other than making out with a man or simpering?
like, everyone in the DS9 mirror universe was still horny as fuck, but it never felt this level of just, like, again,
But they also
repressive
had
60s
character
gross.
moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also had moments where they had motivations other than want to bang.
Yes, exactly. Like, that... If you have to have horny mirror universe, you do it more like that.
Yeah, you do the Independent Kira, where she's just a bad bitch.
Yeah, or again, you kind of do the Discovery thing where they just kind of drop that.
Yeah. Because there are other things that they can be doing that are interesting.
Yeah.
So, fuck all that. That's why In a Mirror Darkly is on my bottoms list.
Actually, there is... I don't want to get into it too much, but they do mention a certain... They don't show it, but there is some horniness mentioned, but it's kind of fun.
I'm not against horniness. I'm not against it.
I think that's a
But
thing
we can be more than teenagers about it.
Yeah, like, internet losers often try to accuse progressives of being anti-sex, anti-horny. No, we don't want 50-year-old opinions of horny.
Yeah, these are people who love Bound because you get to watch the girls do their sexy dance.
Yeah, and they go, no, see, it's okay because they're in charge. Fuck off.
Also, that choreographed dance was so painful to watch. I was like, can we please move on? Can we please move on? Please stop dancing. Please stop. No, they're still dancing. Why are they still dancing? Did they rehearse this 5 minutes ago? I saw this in
Probably.
high school. You know what? I remember a sleepover where we did this. Let's not do this now on television.
Oh,
Cool.
And yet season 4 is supposed to be the good one.
I mean,
It was the most
relatively-
watchable.
Well, let's send this off better than the show actually did. Time to run down the tops and bottoms for the whole fucking show.
Mm-hmm.
Tell
Number
us,
5.
We're
Cut.
starting with tops?
Yep.
All right.
Carbon Creek, I suppose.
Hooray!
In a Mirror Darkly.
Only number 4?
Similitude with the note, God, I hate putting anything from season 3 on here. But it's the one episode that seems to acknowledge in that season that Archer's a dipshit.
Yeah.
And Connor Trenier does really well. It's like the one episode where they acknowledge, wow, this whole season is philosophically fucked. Shuttle Pod 1.
Yay.
Reed wants to die so bad. And because I fucking had to, I don't even know if I mean this, but fuck this show, Acquisition.
Hey.
Oh my god.
Just fuck
it.
Wow.
So interesting that you bring up Acquisition.
I was not
I didn't think about
expecting
that.
Acquisition to come up.
You're welcome.
It's
It's gonna come up twice.
Ferengi nonsense. And no, yeah, okay, neat, Chris.
I'm glad you got the cringe.
I'll say my 5, because I have some additional 5s. Let's start with, why not Observer Effects coming back up?
Sure.
Because I just had a batch of people in the These Are Fines, and this was the top of those. So Observer Effect, I still like that one. Similitude, still good. Still some great Connor Trenier acting. Still an interesting kind of dilemma that the show seems to understand Archer and Phlox are on the wrong side of.
Yes.
Which is a great big caveat for that one. Because if otherwise, it would be fucking Drek.
Yeah.
Number 3, Carbon Creek. I still like that one. Mistral Forever. Number 2, Shuttle Pod 1. An early goodie. And, Trenier and Keating rock that, and it's really good. And my number 1, which is a highlight from season 3, is Twilight.
Which one is that?
Twilight is the one with Caretaker, T'Pol in the future, and Archer has no
Archer
memory.
has-
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which is just a good... I'm a sucker for a memory wipe.
Yeah.
For a what are you without your memory story. So.
Yes, that is true.
Okay. All right, yeah, well, there's going to be quite a bit of overlap here. Just be slim pickings, folks.
Yeah, because there's not that much that's very good. See Chris picking
So
Acquisition for some
these
reason.
these are in no particular order, but I have Carbon Creek,
Yay!
Similitude, Shuttle Pod 1.
Jesus.
You're going way too fast. Because I'm trying to type quietly. It's hard to type
So
quietly.
get your list and then swap out one for this. Okay, so where were you? Where did you get to?
Shuttle Pod 1.
Okay. Twilight. And my wild card is Dead Stop.
Are these in any order? Or?
No,
Okay.
I prefaced this by saying in no particular
I missed
order.
that. Fuck my life.
Dead Stop's
That stuff's
the-
good.
That's the automated
the
space
automated
station. Yeah,
space
okay.
station.
That is good.
That's like kind of a horror thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What did Caitlin say?
Caitlin did not give me tops and bottoms of the series.
Oh, shit.
I prompted her. She has not responded. She has not seen my messages.
Well, we can get them from her later.
Yeah, Chris
Fix and post.
has spliced them in here. Go.
Wow, I was not expecting those choices. Okay. All right. Top 5s, huh? Well, I
Were
mean,
there any?
this will be a shock because I did say Acquisition.
Hooray!
Oh.
Because, and it's I don't remember a lot of it. I'm going off of vibes for a lot of these, and vibes for that one was, hey, look at all those actors who they got in to be like
Yes.
the ragtag
Yeah.
band of Ferengis.
Ethan
Yeah.
Phillips is here.
They were pleasant for me to watch
And
because I liked them as
Clint
performers.
And,
Clint, yeah.
and, Combs.
Yeah.
The whole crew. We got the gang back together.
That's
And
exactly
the fourth
it.
one.
That's it. I
Yeah.
don't remember how it was resolved. I vaguely
Shit.
remember the plot. I don't care. I don't care because it was like, oh, at least I can watch them. Fine. They know what they're doing. Oh, wait! Alright, Caitlin's going after me.
Oh shit! Move this earlier. Cut that.
No, we're
Who
just...
knows?
Yeah, fuck it. We'll see.
Lazy editing.
I've already started. I'm gonna go with Observer Effect again.
Yay!
Because it felt like a sci-fi story, and I'm cool with that. And, like, there were actually some good acting moments. Like, I got to see Hoshi, like, do something interesting.
Isn't that where we learned she did Aikido? And was kicked out of the academy?
Yes,
Yeah.
It's the
actually.
Yeah.
most character development we've ever seen from her, and she's dying?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna keep that on there. I'm gonna stick with keeping Chosen Realm in the top 5.
Chosen Realm.
You know why?
Fascinating.
For one reason. Because a character in the episode finally called out Archer for his war crime bullshit.
Oh, that's good.
Called him out and said,
Fair.
like, you have no problem torturing
Fair.
people. Like, was actually someone to
That-
say,
That is a good point.
you do this thing. It is bad. It should not be accepted as normal within the context of the episode.
Fair.
I'll include Terra Prime in my top 5.
Okay.
And I'm debating between 2. I'll stick with United because I actually stopped what I was doing to actually watch like Shran and Talas for that last scene, because it felt compelling emotionally.
Her dying scene?
Yes.
Oh, that was a cute scene.
Like, then of course it was a scene where another woman was getting fridged. Whatever, fine. But, like, it was still very emotional and very good and great. So those are my top 5s. Caitlin's top 5s.
There we go.
Oh my god.
Oh, she give me bottoms
Strap
first, there's
in.
tops. Oh, yep, alright. And she's doing
Nope, just more bottoms.
last minute removal.
Uh-oh.
Alright, hang on.
So, which episode was this again?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hang on, she's giving me.
All right, I'll...
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Do we need hold music?
Nope, I'm good. I'm barely awake. Her bottoms are broken.
No,
Toe.
top.
Tops.
Tops. Fuck.
More
You didn't hear
more
that.
Troy foreshadowing.
Her tops are Shuttlepod 1.
Yay!
That was like a number 6 for me. Dead Stop.
Hooray!
Similitude.
Also hooray.
Observer Effect.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
There's a
in that
pattern.
They're all good Todd
Yeah.
Fear episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Observer Effect. And Borderland.
Borderland. I have to
Interesting.
find out from Caitlin what she likes so much about Borderland.
Which one's that again?
That's the one where we meet Brent Spiner.
Right. I already forgotten again. What a
I mean, it
fucking
could just
season.
be because it's Brent Spiner.
Yeah.
Does that have
The Big Show.
the Big Show? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she really likes Big Show.
I mean, she also really likes Big Show. I
That's
think.
true. So what's funny is basically on my bottom list, still, like, again, my opinion of the show has decreased sharply. But
I'm so
almost
sorry, Chris.
all of these are episodes that even going into this, I thought of as bad, and they just got worse.
Yeah.
So what I went in basically already hating still remained the most hateable of this show. These Are the Voyages.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Bound. Fucking Berman. Cogenitor.
Ooh.
You fucking know full well why that's here. Damage.
You still really hate Damage.
Archer goes full pirate, fuck him.
That's such a strange one to be like the worst of the worst.
To me, it's just like...
That's bullshit.
I think it's because at that whole season is atrocious. But that's the one where he dares to go, I might have to cross a line. Fucking John, you crossed a line months ago, you loser. And Fusion.
Wow.
Which one's Fusion?
Vulcan mind rape.
Yeah.
Fuck that episode.
Yeah, that was...
Again, one last time, I promise. Fuck you, Rick Berman.
I don't think you promised. I think you might do it again.
Gonna do my best. Here's the thing, he's gone soon.
Is he dying?
No
He's just
involvement
not
in Trek
involved.
after this.
Oh, I see. Not like soon, like from today.
No, like after this, it'll be fuck you, Alex Kurtzman.
J.J. Abrams.
Him too. And honestly, I don't have as many problems with Kurtzman.
Hmm.
I think. We'll see.
Well, I have problems with Enterprise, and I have 5 of them specifically. I had 7, and I wheedled it down to some fucking how.
You had only 7?
7... These are the most F ratings I've gotten out of a show, and there's only 97 episodes. So
There we
this
go.
is fucking bizarre. So from the 7 Fs, these are the 5 that I'm going with. I'm starting with the one that I thought Chris was going to say, which is Harbinger, which is where we find a
The sphere
builder, and Archer just decides for no reason to torture him.
Oh, yeah.
Malcolm has 1.5 million fights with Hayes for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
And T'Pol is all jealous that Trip is hanging out with a girl.
That is terrible too.
Terrible. Just everything a whiff. We do get to see the bum, but for bad reasons. So Harbinger, fuck that. Number 4, Bound, just
Yeah, Bound.
terrible fucking Orion bullshit. Tried to make it not like misogynist,
It
but
made it
somehow
worse.
made it more misogynist.
Yeah.
How? Well, in the same way that they did it in Fusion, which they just raped T'Pol and then try to make it her own fault. God damn it. Number 2 is one that I still really hate an awful lot, which is Hatchery.
Yep.
Which is where Archer tries to save the baby insects and everyone mutates. Nope.
Mutinies.
Mutates. Everyone mutinies because he's not committing enough war crimes. Jesus God. And Archer's the one that's wrong. Because this show doesn't know what its fucking point is.
Nope.
And number 1, I'm actually going to dredge up from season 1, which I've always just fucking detested this episode, and that's Dear Doctor, where fucking Phlox commits genocide, but he's supposed to be right, and fuck my life.
I will say, since you brought it up, it was a toss-up for me between Damage and Hatchery.
Oh god, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
hatchery is also fucking terrible.
Well, I'm glad I brought it up
Agree.
because I need to shit on that episode
Damn, it
so
says
hard.
Casey Biggs in it though.
Yeah, but the rest of the episode is so bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, well, I did not include that, but I did include 5 other episodes.
Oh, good.
And
5
and
episodes.
surprising no one, there's going to be some overlap here.
Whoa.
So we'll start there with Fusion.
Neat.
Mm-hmm.
These Are the Voyages.
Mm-hmm.
Bound. And then where I change it up a little bit,
Ooh.
Precious Cargo.
Good, I'm glad you
How
brought that
dare.
up.
I considered that one.
That was the one that dropped off of my F list last.
It's just, I mean, mostly it's that actor that they got.
Oh, she's so bad.
She was so
It
bad.
was awful. It was really bad. And I mean, it's just a stupid plot to begin with.
Yes.
But it wasn't helped by the fact that they hired the absolute worst actor.
Worst possible choice.
And then, I mean, again, this one, it's not really offensively bad. It's just so meh to me, but Carpenter Street.
Mm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's a deeply mid
Yeah, I
episode.
agree
It's
with
very
that choice,
mid.
too.
I feel like there's probably ones that are objectively worse than that, but it's just, it felt so random in the middle of the Zindi arc.
Yeah, we're
and-
suddenly doing the temporal Cold War again.
Yeah, and none of it makes a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
And
Why don't the time daddies handle it them fucking selves?
yeah, I mean, it just seemed like an excuse. They wanted to do a 20th century or 21st century,
Romp.
romp, and they hadn't done one, so let's
And
do
it
this
wasn't-
way.
Like every other dumb time travel romp they've done from Star Trek 4 on, it's just like, I don't know, has something fun. This isn't fun.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
it's just the best joke is let's go to the drive-through and
Yeah.
fight with that.
Yeah.
And then it lasts for 20 minutes for
Yeah.
some fucking reason.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, what did Caitlin have to
So
say?
Caitlin,
We need to know.
the math I had to do is because she accidentally sent me a bottom 6, just for the record. So, we're lopping one off.
Oh, we're
by her
lopping?
request.
Okay, good.
But,
well,
like-
let me know at the end.
but
Or let me know now what we lopped either way.
It just felt worth mentioning because it's just so hard to narrow it down. Her bottoms are, and I know it's the first time I'm mentioning this, Broken Bow.
Oh my.
Which one's Broken Bow?
That is the
The
premiere.
premiere.
Which sets us up for failure.
Which I also
Thought so.
considered.
Okay, I was
Good.
wondering why it sounded like that. Feels like one of the
Literally the
momentous
first
ones.
episode.
First one, yes. Okay, Bounty.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
Bounty.
Which one's
oh,
Bounty?
that's
That's
interesting.
not even that bad.
Is that
The
one
B
where-
plot is awful.
What
Which
was
one?
the B plot?
Paul goes to Ponfar
Oh, that's that one.
and tries to rape Phlox.
Right.
Yeah, that's gross.
Is that what is that one aside from that?
That's the one with the
Tellarite?
The Tellarite.
The
bounty
Tellarite, yeah,
Yeah,
bringing
that's
Archer to Klingon.
Yeah. Okay.
That plot's fine, but yes, the whole episode is brought down by the B.
by the B plot?
B
You're
plot,
right.
yeah, nope,
100%. Caitlin's got it right.
Makes sense.
She also chose Precious Cargo
Hooray!
Good.
because holy shit, Hatchery
Yay!
and These Are the Voyages.
I'm shocked Bound didn't sweep.
Bound was the 6th one on the list that she
Got
dropped
it.
off, so
I
it
mean, it is-
just dropped off.
It is worth shitting on Bounty.
I can see, if you're like, I could see like if I had to choose between Bound and Bad Ponfar,
Yeah,
they kind of represent similar ideas.
valid, completely valid. Yeah,
So I could see
It's
swapping
good
one
that
for
they
the
all
other.
got representation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to show for the record when we get to my list. These are my worst options as I shuffled around. I have 13,
Ooh.
Well.
so I've been
There's a lot
shuffling
of
them around.
bad.
So the ones that I'm gonna go with, the ones that have floated to the shit that floats to the top. My first on my list is Precious Cargo. I mean, I summarized it as perfect mate but bad, but I
Yep.
just kept shouting like, who hired her?
But Perfect
Who?
Mate is also bad.
Why? Yeah, that's saying something.
Yeah. When you've done the shitty version of a bad
It's a
episode.
shitty episode. I also included Bound because
Mm-hmm.
the whole and it's just like, I'm just going to purr my lines like, this is bullshit. Why do I have to sit through a whole episode of this? And it gets worse. And like even yeah, that attempt at like, well, it's the women actually run the show. I'm like, oh great, yeah, because we hypnotize men with our pussies all the time.
We
That's
love-
always what it comes to.
we
You
love
know,
being
women really
slaves.
have the power. I don't know why they're complaining about patriarchy or whatever, because like you have so much privilege. That's what this episode was.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys. I included the 7th.
Oh, that's interesting.
I vaguely remember the plot. I just remember when I look, I'm like, That's the Vulcan revenge. I remember this because I was constantly shouting throughout the episode, like, why is this happening? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
Why is T'Pol a secret agent
she's
of
like
some
a
kind?
big retcon to Paul. It's like, it's kind of, I never thought of it, but they did the same thing to Reed later.
They
Like,
did!
Yeah.
They
They
retconned
retconned.
2 characters
They
as
could've
secret
just-
agents.
They could have
Yeah.
just let it be T'Pol again. She's already a secret agent.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No,
Then-
they already gave a woman enough spotlight, and she's not being raped. So,
But also,
Ugh.
that wouldn't have let you bring back Section 31.
that's some bullshit. But yeah, so this is another one of like purely on vibes. I look at that and I have a flashback of being in front of my TV, being like, just constantly talking about why. So that gets on my list.
So the Romulans have the Tal Shiar, the Vulcan equivalent. God, this is so stupid. The Vulcan equivalent is the Pon Fiar.
What's wrong with Jake?
I'm keeping that in just so there is a record that you said that.
This is so stupid. Like, I'm like giggling to myself because it's like, that's the stupidest thing.
You're laughing so hard at your own joke that I'm seeing a
It's not
vein
even
pop.
but that's
You're
the thing,
popping a vein.
What I'm laughing about is how bad of a joke it is.
Yeah, no, it's great. My next on my list is Dear Doctor,
Mhm.
Yay.
because at no point was this really called like this wasn't like, at least with Tuvix is compelling enough that like there's a debate over the morality of it.
Yes.
There's pleading, there are cold moments that are deliberately highlighted as like Tuvix is pleading for his life, no one is stopping. Everyone looks really conflicted and feels filthy about what's happening, and no one is doing anything. This is why it's such an interesting episode that everybody completely debates it, and everyone else is a monster who doesn't agree with you. This one, it's just accepted. Like, no, this is normal. We have to let them die. Like, this is the kind of shit that like this was the far right talking points for COVID, of like, well, we have to just let the population die out who's vulnerable.
The olds have to like take it
Yeah.
on themselves. to
Sorry,
just go die.
grandma's got to die on a ventilator. Like, it was the same logic. So like, I might also like with that retrospect, it ages even worse.
Well, it's
than it
funny.
could.
I didn't think this at the time, but because you said "let them die," like Kirk going "let them die" in Star Trek 6 is supposed to be a moment where you go like, "Jim, Jesus."
Yeah,
Christ."
it's supposed
yeah.
to be. It's supposed to be a Rubicon to cross. Like,
Yeah.
it's no, that's not the right metaphor. But like, it's crossing a line.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to feel that line cross, and you're supposed to see everyone else seeing that line cross. Here, it was just sort of like, all right.
Yeah.
I guess, like, because it's not just like these particular people that you're seeing on screen who are going to die. It's all of their descendants. Like, eventually, like, we're seeing an extinction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then they pat themselves on the back.
And like, that's just
afterwards.
nature. And like, everything in this sick bay is against nature by that logic.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then my fifth one that has made the list, I'm going with Regine,
Oh,
the
Regine.
cringy seductress alien.
Yeah, she's gross.
For similar reasons of other episodes.
Mm.
Every time she showed, and like, I was like, oh, this is where we're allowed to have like girl on girl sexiness in the worst way, in the way that was my least favorite part of the original Mass Effect, of like, well, it's okay if it's gay if it's girls.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that's what women do. We seduce.
There was
That's
the hottest moment in These Are the Voyages where Chef Riker is talking with Reed and they're chatting about, oh, you like to trip a lot, huh?
Oh yeah.
And then the segue into when he's talking to Hoshi is, did you ever think he was cute? And we see, it's because he's talking to Hoshi. You can't ask that to Reed.
That was definitely queer baiting. That was definitely like, because I'm sure by then there was already a lot of slash fiction about those two.
Oh, definitely, especially
yeah.
after Shuttlepod 1.
Yeah.
More like Shuttlepod fun.
Mm.
I have a couple of mentions. I don't know if anyone else has
I love a
mentions.
mention.
So this comes back to, I think, directors, because like, I know there's at least one LeVar Burton episode on my worst list.
Ooh.
Because that might have been Precious Cargo. I feel like it was one of those episodes where like, you were given a pile of shit and even you couldn't save it. But with my mention list, my conflicted list, Our Similitude, because like, I'm like, all right, this at least feel, and I think it had a good director. It felt like a good sci-fi story. It's just the premise of it, the whole thing that was built on, felt completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
it's
don't
a
need to clone a
stretch.
whole person.
It's a stretch and
Also,
a half.
this is a huge jump in technology that is never revisited again. Like, if you hand wave all of that starting problem, then it reads like a fairly decent sci-fi. Like, sure, okay. And the performances in it are pretty good. Some good choices. Great, fine. In a bad show. And then Daedalus is kind of similar for me.
Oh, Daedalus.
That almost made my bottoms of this season list.
Yeah.
That was probably like my number 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's a good idea executed poorly. I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where like I think we compared it to Observer Effect. An idea like there isn't a lot there, but it's executed so well.
Right.
But Daedalus, I just find so boring.
Yeah, it's the
it was
opposite.
Super
Yeah.
boring.
And I mean, they had a fairly heavy hitter for a guest actor.
Yeah.
And they got such a bad performance. Like, not a
Yeah.
bad performance. That's not, no, I'm not even going to say that.
No one
I
bad,
think-
but it was.
But I don't think it was bad. I think it was bad in this context. I think in a different episode with a different feel,
Yeah.
a different pacing of, like, the early 2000s, that wasn't, like, in a whole Star Trek, like, the kind of way that they shoot it, the way that they pace it, in a different series, it would have been fine. In this series, it did not fit because everyone else was not matching that kind of pace of performance or that quietness. He was doing a lot of quiet. It did not fit with everyone else, and it felt like they were kind of waiting for him to finish his lines half the time.
Bacula doesn't do quiet.
He doesn't know. And I think also, like, I feel like there's some, like, there was a point in the episode where I'm watching, I'm like, was the director just not, was the director just, and I don't remember, I looked it up, I don't remember who it was, but I was wondering, like, were they afraid to direct him? Were they just not giving him notes and just letting him go? And then it just turned out to be shit. Like, editing couldn't save it, it was so mismatched, and it didn't come together at all.
It was someone named David Straighton?
I don't even recognize that one as one of their regulars.
Yeah, Livingston did Precious Cargo. And he's
Okay.
normally, again, like,
Yeah.
solid, but again, you just can't. That actor. Ooh. I meant to mention, dishonorable mention, one of the worst episodes of Enterprise, The Pegasus.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple other mentions. A Night in Sick Bay. God, awful.
Yeah, that was bad.
Oh, that's one with Porthos, right?
Yeah.
Pour those in the tank.
Yeah.
Archer's so mad his dog pissed on their tree. Okay, Archer.
Mm-hmm.
You can say I'm sorry? No, you're not gonna? Okay, fuck you.
What a bad show.
Yeah, I think overall
so many other
it's
bad
just,
episodes.
What? What would have improved this show is my question. Because, like, there are ideas in doing a prequel that you could have done in an interesting way. What are they?
Completely different showrunners.
different
Yes.
showrunners.
That's all.
I think a different cast. I think there's some miscasting here. Like, I don't think Bacula.
Is it just
No,
Bacula?
Bacula didn't match the character that was
No.
written.
And like,
Well, that's
and
it with-
I'm not saying, because I don't actually think Bacula's that bad of an actor overall. I mean, I really like Quantum Leap. Right, I did when I watched it. I just don't think he was a good fit for a starship captain.
Well,
And especially since this was a very angry starship captain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing, though. If we had different showrunners, we might have had a better written Archer that he could have worked with.
And that would have been written to match him.
Yeah.
And he would grow instead of stay the fucking
See,
same.
I think the biggest issue I have with Archer isn't even or with Bacula as Archer, is that he doesn't portray authority well to me. Like,
No.
I think it's a limitation of his acting. That's why I don't think I could see him playing a character with he played like in Quantum Leap, he plays this sort of guileless man who's just kind of like
He's thrust into situations.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
But in
Like,
this, he has to take charge of situations.
Yeah, and I don't think anytime he has done that on the show, it's like he puts on this voice where he's like, I'm the boss, and it's just it just doesn't work. I would honestly be really interested to have seen what a Keith Carradine Archer would
I
have
do love
done.
that idea.
Or if they'd even run with the idea of, like, we think we're going out here just to be scientists, and we can't. And if they'd run with the fact that maybe he's a little in over his head and trying to figure out what the balance is, like, maybe that could have been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I keep thinking of ideas and then just realizing I wanted this to be for all mankind.
I've not seen that, so
it's
I
so
can't exactly
Yeah.
compare.
fucking
but-
Yeah,
good.
honestly, like Ed Baldwin as Archer.
Yeah,
that's-
a fuck up.
yeah.
I
He's
mean,
constantly fucking up.
I feel like, I think this gets to sort of part of it is, not part of it, but I was thinking, like, when you think about sort of, foreshadowing for streaming track. Like, you've got Pike, who is like not this sort of very old school idea of just I'm immediately in charge. Like, he
Yes.
gets advice,
You're beating me
he
to it.
talks to people.
He's part of a team.
But when he needs to go, right, a decision's made, I am actually, do recall, captain,
Mm-hmm.
I do believe it when he does the switch. Which
Yes.
maybe you don't have with Bakula.
Right.
But also, like, Bakula's
Mount is
not
competent.
necessarily asking for advice. He's always the captain. They wanted him to be kind of Kirky.
Yeah. When he gets advice, he shoots it down
Yeah.
every time to show authority.
Yeah, like I feel like Pike, Stranger Worlds Pike, is a good modern take on the Starfleet captain.
Yeah.
And with Enterprise, they had no idea what they wanted. They wanted Kirk, but just
Whiter.
wrote an angry, horrible, whiter man. Yes.
I feel like, I mean, this is probably an interesting anthropological study on the time period.
That too.
The
Ooh, I
Bush
like
W
that idea.
the Bush W administration.
Yeah.
Like that. Who does it? Lindsay Ellis does an interesting video essay on like that era and like was talking
We'll have
about
to
like
link it.
I recommend I'll find it. But she talks about like that era afterward. Like she focuses a lot on music in terms of like this is where like pop country like got to be like what it is now,
Oh, that's
and it was
interesting.
very much this conservative red state idea of.
Is this on YouTube or on Nebula?
It's on YouTube.
Okay, good. Because I know she moved a lot to Nebula.
Well, I mean, I watched it on YouTube, so I'll have
The
to see.
hell
Hopefully,
is
it's still.
Nebula?
Nebula's another. It's a YouTube equivalent, but it doesn't have like a stupid algorithm, and you have to
Yeah.
pay for it.
Okay.
It's where a lot of like the YouTubers, like the old school YouTubers, have moved to. But like, so like we're this whole decade, was just a lurch to in a direction after 9/11, right?
Mhm.
It always comes back to 9/11 of just hiding behind this conservatism, this like jingoistic, you either are like for you're with us, you're against us, right? Like all this W bullshit.
Yeah.
And so like you have this attitude, like this is what the acceptable dialogue is, this is what the acceptable stance is.
Mm-hmm.
We are militarized, we are pro-Iraq, we are pro-Afghanistan, we are all this shit because you have to be, and if not, you are un-American and you are the enemy. Also, you look a little brown, don't trust you. So like, you have to like compromise, like this is what a lot of shows, this is where like 24 is coming in, this is where all these other like, shows are coming up, and now we have, we need to continue Star Trek. Star Trek has all these ideals of the luxury gay space communism.
Yeah, and Star Trek is specifically a more hopeful show than I think most shows of this era are.
And this was not a hopeful era.
No, very
so
much
like
not.
you're trying to sell that show for this time period. What form can it take? And that seems to be what we got. I think they could have still found a light at the end of the tunnel in the right hands. I think the showrunners just didn't give a shit because we already saw some of their mark in DS9, like the little flecks of horribleness, and they just got to have the whole run of this, and they're like, great, fine, so we're gonna do tits, and we're gonna do suddenly everybody's a spy.
Everybody's a spy.
Because this is what we need to do to get things done.
They're glorified because spies are cool.
And just it didn't matter. Torture is fine. Because this is what we do. We waterboard. We do this. Abu Ghraib. Fine. All of that. It's all great because we decided that it's for the advancement of our agenda. So that's what we got. But
I will say, thank goodness Star Trek seems to have recovered, unlike pop country, which has continued to dig itself into.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget that a lot of classic country is in fact
outlaw country.
Yeah, and fairly anti-government overreach.
Yeah. Yeah, and Archer was definitely written with that kind of a captain, but I think I was thinking of comparisons to like Pike was one captain I was comparing him to in my head of like what could have been, and I feel like Pike would have been on the road to a better match for Bakula, for that like hapless oh boy sort of guy, and it could have been, and I was thinking of Lorca actually, just in comparison to like, do we want like. What if this show was set up as this is a scientist and or maybe diplomat, of more of a captain, and suddenly he's thrown into a wartime captain scenario. So now he's a mismatch. So that could play to the strengths of like I'm in over my head.
Right. Like I know you guys aren't really getting our Ed Baldwin metaphor or comparison
No.
to
Please explain.
For All Mankind. It's a Ronald D. Moore show, and he's just he's the next kind of fighter pilot, flight pilot. What would we call it?
Yeah. So the sort of the high level premise is,
he's A.G. Robinson.
He's A.G. Robinson,
basically.
or he's any of the Right Stuff guys, right?
Yeah.
Like literally, he's like a Gemini astronaut in the show, but the show takes place starting in the 1960s with like these hotshot astronaut test pilot types, and then every season is like a time jump, and this character Ed Baldwin, who starts out as like that test pilot, like
cocky and
like he just progressively gets more like at one point he's like running NASA, and then like in the later season, like it's just he's like 90 years old or something, and he's not 90, he's like in his 70s or something, but he's like this curmudgeon-y old man who's like, back in my day, we did things this way, and he's a hot shot. He's still got like a hot shot attitude, and he's always fucking shit up. But he's still like weirdly kind of the hero of the show because
even though you're sometimes actively rooting against him, but he still works.
As a character, Ed Baldwin is frustrating to me in the same ways that Archer is, because it's like, why do you suck so bad?
But it's part of his character.
But it's part of
Archer you're supposed to like.
Yeah, and it's like, but like, I love the character of Ed Baldwin. I just think he's a huge asshole.
You're supposed to. He's a complex person rather than a poorly written person.
Exactly.
Perfect. Yes. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, but related to that, like I also know when Carl was on, when we were talking mirror shit.
Oh, he made some interesting observations.
There's a bunch of overlap in this show with Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, well, that was the other thing I was going to mention.
Which knew what this era's tone was.
Yeah, and like Battlestar Galactica is explicitly a 9/11 show. Like no matter what anybody says, it's about 9/11.
Well, that's the thing is like Enterprise has the weird disadvantage of having started. So, like, planning, initial writing, all this was happening before that, and then they had to pivot. One could argue maybe they could have just kept being Star Trek, had the fucking courage to keep being fucking Star Trek.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, like, I think this is, like, a thing that creatives do, is that they'll be doing something creatively, and then something happens out there. In society, and then you're like, oh well, shit, we got to pivot because we're creatives. We need to comment on what's happening. Like we need to be a commentary on.
We have to throw in an AIDS episode.
We need an AIDS episode. Yeah. We need and like, I see it in the theater all the time where it's like, oh my god, this is the zeitgeist. We need to be talking about this.
I mean, being fair, that was an event you couldn't not acknowledge.
That's what I was gonna say.
The scale of it, but their response was fucking abysmal.
Also true.
I don't think they had to. I think.
Well, I think they didn't have to do like the
full season of shit.
It, but like to me, the response could have been not necessarily having a metaphor for it, but just for me, the response could have just been, we are gonna double down on the good parts, like the optimistic. Yeah. We can get like not necessarily acknowledge it directly, but just have like. An acknowledgement would be, we're going to show us overcoming our failings as human beings more now than even we were already planning, because in this time we need this message more than ever. And instead they chickened out, did a 9/11 season, and agreed with fucking Jack Bauer and his power dumps.
Yeah, and honestly, I think...
Power dumps.
I've had a couple of those. It's not just season 3.
No, it's not. But that's like the...
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that's obviously the
trough.
But I think to Liz's point, like the whole society at that point, everything was very that jingoistic, militaristic,
Anything is justified.
Anything is justified. Where's your flag pin?
Yeah.
Where's your support the troops magnet?
Yep.
It's like all this shit. And it was a weird time to be alive because and I feel like it's been a long time since I saw this show live, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? It's been 20 years. And I wonder if and also I was a lot younger. And I wonder if the same things that bother me about this show now would have been the things bothering me about it then. Because I feel like it was hard to be objective in the way we can be now about stuff at that time. Watching the show, it was that's just how TV was at that time. Like you had 24. Like it wouldn't have seemed out of place amongst the tapestry of television at the time.
Yeah, like fascinatingly, like the two reviewers I've been following along with as we've been going through the episodes. One watched the episodes, or one made his reviews as episodes were coming out. And weirdly, These Are the Voyages came out the same day as Terra Prime, which is very strange. But that's beside the point. So his opinions are in the day. And he said, and granted this is subjective and it's one guy, but he says season 3 is a better season than season 4 because there's tension and there's action and there's stakes. Yeah, there's a lot more going on than in season 4, which is a lot of dreck.
Yeah.
Whilst the guy, looking back on it, and he just finished his rewatch this year, basically, said, like, holy shit, season 3 is trash.
Like,
yeah.
Well, here's the thing. That's exactly. And I think that the reason is that to a 2024 lens, season 3 is extremely dated. You know, it is
especially from the viewpoint.
It's very much of its time. So at the time, I could imagine watching season 3 and be like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." It's it's like 24.
Right.
It's like I'd like to, because I didn't watch this until 8 or 9 years ago. Was when I first watched it. I watched a few episodes back when it was new, but I don't even think I got to the second season. So I didn't get to the season 3 bullshit at the time.
I was about to say, it would have been
wow.
interesting for you to do that if it were like, during like the Trump campaign or something.
I basically was.
Okay. But like you didn't get to season 3.
Oh, no, sorry, what I'm saying, yes, I did get to season 3.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is, but when it did first start, I did, catch the first few episodes live back in 2001 or whatever. But I, at that time, didn't even, I think, finish season 1, from what I recall. So I didn't see season 3 in, 2003 or 4, whatever the fuck it was.
Right.
Yeah, when I was watching it was during the Trump campaign and the Trump years and...
Yeah.
But, I'd like to think that anyone who was an actual, thinking person back then who claimed to like Star Trek would have gone with season 3 this is 24 and Star Trek shouldn't be 24.
I think at the time I remember at the time that it was airing and I watched some of it. I know that in terms of where I was, and I'm not gonna dive in to I'm not gonna trigger the whole conversation that always happens of where were you on 9/11, but for me, at the time, the perspective I was coming from, I was born and raised in New Jersey. In central New Jersey, in a commuter town for New York. So when 9/11 hit, the whole backlash was for me, that, the cultural reaction was of that particular, in that milieu. I kept going home, and, economically, it affected that whole tri-state area. Socially, emotionally, people died in my hometown because of it, and people were saved. And then that was happening, and the other reaction that happened in that area was the national reaction that fell into this whole the Bush era bullshit, and that creates a sort of jaded there was a jadedness to that culturally locally there in my hometown area and in New York, because everyone else was never forget the towers, it's an attack upon all of us, and we're sitting there you fucking hate us most of the time. You shit on us all the time, and suddenly we're your emblem of loss.
Fuck your baseball team.
See? There was that, except also never forget. So, no, fuck you all too. So, there was that, and there's also the fact that, I grew up in a very diverse area. Most of the Sweet 16s I went to were Indian girls, and it was fucking best Sweet 16s ever, let me tell you. But, a girl I hung out with all the time in gym was a hijabi Muslim girl. The people I lifted weights with were from these countries. So also that era had this racist backlash that that where it put me in the camp of observing all this and seeing the bullshit for what it was. And so then seeing shit like that, the little peeps I got into Enterprise whenever I checked in and was I hate this. It was one, I saw T'Pol running around in her jumpsuit and I was what the fuck is this bullshit? I thought we got over this with 7 of 9. Now we're just continuing it, and it's even worse.
It's even worse.
It's even worse. And then on top of that, like all the 24 bullshit, like the like conservative bullshit. I was like, this is the same shit that's being spouted all over the place. This doesn't feel like Star Trek. Also, the opening theme is bullshit.
Oh, so bad.
I will say I have managed to make it through the entire rewatch of Enterprise without having watched the opening sequence once.
Lucky you.
Never made it past Been a Long Road.
Did you watch the Mirror Universe opening sequence?
I thought about it, and in the 2-second span I considered it, I said, no, I'm not going to break my streak.
They do have a different opening.
I remember, because In a Mirror Darkly was that 2-parter I watched back in the day. And I remember that was when I was like, this is stupid. But I did watch the opening and was like, this is actually more clever than the rest of this episode.
That might have made... it still would have been a terrible episode, but they at least should have done for fucking These Are the Pegasus.
These Are the Pegasus.
They should have had... still have the terrible song, which I hate, but redo the opening so it's like the NX-1 going through the solar system, like the Enterprise D at the start of TNG.
Oh, they would not spend money on that.
No,
they
I
would
know.
just reuse the TNG one with the other song, and it would clash.
True.
Anybody notice though that the when they were showing the titles, like the overlay titles in the first, in the first act after
Yeah.
they used the
TNG font.
The TNG font.
Oh,
I
I
didn't
know
know
that.
this.
I mean, because I didn't watch it.
I don't know if that's clever or annoying.
That was all a very long-winded way for me to get there, but like I do remember. My point was that I do remember that there was some backlash about like just the tone of Enterprise at the time.
Yeah, and I feel like for me, like I was very lucky in that I went to a weird, for lack of a better term, experimental school at the time, and I had some very leftist teachers. So I think even if I had been watching at the time, they already would have like instilled in me like, this is fucking horrifying.
This is messed up.
I mean, again, I didn't watch 24 at the time because I was like, I don't need this fucking show.
Oh god.
So
yeah.
I'd like to think if I had watched Enterprise then and seen season 3 then, I would have gone, no.
Yeah, I don't think you would have. Just knowing like what I know of you at the time, I don't think it would have gone over well. I feel like there would have been a group of us sitting in front of the TV being like, what the hell are we watching?
What an awful show.
What are we doing next?
What are we doing next?
We're gonna make this show better. Is what we're gonna do.
Oh, is it time?
Next week.
Woo!
Well, Chris is the one outroing, so I reminded you what the thing is.
Yeah. So yes, this has been The Star Steer Herby, episode 365. Enterprise is effectively over because next week isn't canon, but it will be better than anything we've watched because it's time for Enterprise fanfics.
Hooray!
So
Let's just call them fics.
Hey!
Enterprise fics from your favorite people. So join us for that. Follow us on your favorite podcasting app. We're on SoundCloud. We're on Tumblr, sshbpodcast.com. We'll route you there. We're still on Facebook for some reason because we're too old to know what else there is. So yeah, join us for that. This has been Chair.
This has been Ames.
This has been Jake.
And this is, regrettably, Liz.
Thank you so much for joining us, Liz, and I'm sure you had to binge an awful lot to catch up to be here.
In the past 2 to 3 weeks, this is when I watched most of the season.
Whoa.
That's
a lot for a very short amount of time.
It's been a short road, but a packed road.
I love you guys
been
very
congested
much,
a
and I
lot.
hope that you remember I did this for you.
I'll think about it.